Watching what?
Layman's terms.
Amos turn.
Layman's terms.
Oh, layman's turn.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Watch
Make
it.
sure you be watching it. All right.
Love it.
Hey guys, welcome to Layman's Terms Podcast, the place where we talk about really big topics using the smallest words possible. I'm Danny the bartender,
And I'm Tommy the trash man.
and together we're just two guys trying to explain the ever-changing world around us the only way that we know how. And there's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of different things to talk about. Don't even know where to start. You got South Africa's crumbling, Cuba's in uprising, Delta variants on the rise. LA's going back into lockdown. I got some big news, and Psaki's dropping, what you call them, Tom?
Psaki Bombs.
Psaki Bombs.
Psaki Bomb.
Psaki Bomb for you. Psaki Bomb for everybody.
Oh, you like that Psaki Bomb? You're
Psaki Bomb.
Misinformation. Misinformation for you.
Yeah.
No soup for you.
No.
No freedom.
No freedom for you. Psaki Bomb.
No
All
Facebook.
right. I don't know. I have no clue what just happened, but that's what happened. We're probably racist now.
She's the social media Nazi.
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's take care of let's get our Virginia Beach shit out of the way.
Yeah. So Layman's Terms took a little road trip.
Yeah, we hit the road. Layman's Terms hit the road. Went down to Virginia Beach. Thought we'd just go do something interesting and different. Little did we know, maybe not such a good idea.
Yeah. We heard they had good beef and bean burritos at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's probably the best. That was probably the best part of our trip. But no, I mean, I had a good time. We went down there. It was just cool to see something different. But if you ever get the opportunity, I suggest not. Sorry if you're from Virginia Beach, but I doubt any of our followers are. So,
Well, to be fair to Virginia Beach, if it's close to you, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're an hour away or something like that, sure. You know, like I said, as we were driving down there and we passed by Busch Gardens and Water Country USA. Water Country USA is amazing. Like I went there a couple times as a kid. It's just a gigantic water park. I loved it there. And with Virginia Beach, like when we took a ride down there, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We booked a hotel on the way down. And I'm sure if you live in Virginia, if you are close by there, you know where to go. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if you're from Virginia and you come up to the Jersey Shore and go to like Wildwood, I'm sure that you'll probably get told like, oh, go here, go there. But you're probably going to miss a couple spots. You know what I mean? Like you might miss the number one tavern or something like that. You know what I mean? So that might have been a good spots, but we didn't really know. And plus we don't really know if it's still, because we went down during the week. Things were closing down early. Is it because it was during the week? Is it because there's still some cocoa restrictions going on?
yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, and you know, and what a lot of what we saw down there was maybe it was just it looked kind of
Psaki Bomb.
there. But maybe it was like that because that's just what's open on fucking Monday or Tuesday or whatever. But I would suggest if you're looking for heroin, I would say if you're looking for heroin, Virginia Beach might be for you.
Yeah, there was probably a couple guys that could have, slid that to them down
and
low.
if you're young and you're thinking about maybe getting molested, you could go down to Virginia Beach as well.
Yeah, it was, it just, I guess it was a little bit disappointing because, growing up, we go to Jersey Shore, you know what I mean? And I'm sure for us, it was always like Wildwood, maybe Cape May, things like that, or, Avalon, whatever. So it was a little bit disappointing because like when you go up on the boardwalk in Wildwood, you got all your shops, you got all your rides, you got all this, you got everything.
The action.
And there just wasn't any of that taking place.
Yeah, there was nothing like that. And it was just different. Maybe, I mean, like I understand Wildwood would be different to somebody, but I don't know if it's half nostalgia or what, but Wildwood's still a cool spot. You go there, you have all your different options. You have a big thing. I felt like where we were, it was just kind of like the haves and the have-nots, and the haves were boring and the have-nots were a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
But it was still a good time. We got away. I had some good. I would recommend if you do happen to go to Virginia Beach, just get the tuna wherever you go. Get the tuna steak. Get this tuna steak, the tuna bites, anything that says tuna, because anything else will disappoint you.
And the beef and bean burrito.
Oh yeah, well if it's a 7-Eleven, but I mean, come on, that's universal. That's wherever you. That's any 7-Eleven. Everybody knows they got the good eats.
That's very true. And while we were down there, we brought a little extra back with us.
Yeah, I may possibly have brought the Delta variant with me. Yeah, it was definitely got a little sick coming home. Didn't know what was going on. I feel like I'm almost positive I had the Delta variant, but I had to keep that under wraps. You know, I didn't want to get outed for the Delta variant guy.
Well, so for anybody that's listening, what made you believe that you possibly had that?
Oh, dude, I was getting chesty, getting a little congested, had a headache, started to get a fever. I definitely, we'll put it this way. I was sick. The bottom line is I haven't been sick since quarantine. Like I have not been sick in any way, shape, or form. I haven't had a sore throat. I haven't had a stuffy nose. I haven't had any kind of sickness. And then all of a sudden I got sick. And it wasn't any major kind of sick. It felt a little different. It's still lingering on. But just the mere fact to be sick again was different for me. It was weird because you're just normal sick, but you're like, am I dying? Is this the big one? Is this only day 2? And by day 3, I'm going to die. I spent half my nights sweating with a fever, looking through fucking WebMD, either deciding that I had allergies or that I was fucking moments away from death. So, so it was just weird. But at the end of the day, I just had to shake it off and say, and something else I was just thinking too is like, I also haven't had to not wear a mask like outside in a while. Like I go to work and that's pretty much 90% of the time that I'm out, and we were still wearing masks. And we had not even dropped the mask mandate yet at work. And then that Monday I was out, and with that time, from that week on, I was maskless, going out maskless. And I was even thinking like, I wonder if, maybe just my body itself wasn't like, had lowered its immune system with just a regular shit in the environment.
Yeah. So for me, other than my part-time job, I haven't been wearing a mask for a while. I mean, I forget the exact date when PA kind of dropped its mandates, but I had been going into stores and kind of like certain stores because I'd noticed other people not wearing. So I was like, fuck it. I'm not wearing one either. But coming back home, I kind of was like the same way. I had a slight headache and a little body fatigue. But this is also me coming, I was on vacation all week. So like my body's in a routine. I get up at 6:00 in the morning every day. I'm usually in bed by like 11:30. Now I'm up till 3:00 at night. You know what I mean? Like I'm drinking coffee, like my caffeine is going through the roof.
Yeah.
And with headaches, I mean, I was just at the doctor's, a few months ago with some issues with getting headaches. The stuffy nose and stuff like that, I've dealt with that for years. So that isn't anything kind of new to me. The little bit of fatigue was a little bit like, I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe this is it. But you don't know. And it's kind of like when you said to me, you were like, well, what the fuck is sick anymore?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like what you just said when you go on at WebMD. It's like, do I have the sniffles or am I fucking dying?
And literally it's the same exact, like the weirdest part with the Delta variant is that now they say the difference in this strain is that people have not been experiencing the loss of smell and taste. So basically the symptoms of the Delta variant are absolutely 0% difference from just a regular cold.
Yeah. And even with the temperature, like I never had a temperature.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't know if I didn't have like a bad fever, but I mean, like, you just don't feel yourself. And I also think, like you said you went back to work, and I mean, you went home and you just kind of felt like shit. I kind of felt like shit, but I had right when I came back, I was right back to work, 10 a.m. to 12 on our like busy, like it was just constantly working in and out from 95-degree weather to 65-degree air conditioner 1,000 times, back and forth. So I feel like I just would have just carried that fatigue and it's turned into something. So who knows? I doubt it's the fucking Delta variant, but it's definitely didn't feel good to be sick in this environment, because the whole thing is you feel, you're out, you're in a store or something and you don't have the mask on now, and you're like and everybody just looks at you like, it's him, get him, kill him.
well, and it's like you said too, it's like, well, what is sick anymore? So like,
Yeah.
do we have normal sickness anymore? Like are you not allowed to just feel like a little under the weather?
No.
Does it have to mean the Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, and I don't mean to make it a conspiracy theory, but I think that's what makes it so difficult for me to understand. Is like, who fucking knows? I don't know anybody who's had a regular sickness during, like, there's not one person that I've talked to during quarantine who was like, yeah, man, I feel like shit, but it wasn't COVID. Like, everybody I talked to says either I had COVID or, yeah, I'm pretty sure I had it. I felt like shit last week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but nobody gets regular sick anymore. So I'm fucking confused.
Well, yeah, and even like talking, like I know a few people that were like, dude, I know I had that before. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. And
Like, my
even
back was sore and I wasn't text messaging my friends as much. I definitely had it.
oh yeah, yeah. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh, dude, I definitely had it." She's like, "I was so sick before," and it was like right around that time. And even when it first came out, and my buddy, or the guy that I work with, got it, that I talked about on the show, on the podcast. I It was weird because I was in the trash truck with him, so I was less than a foot, like inches away from him, for a little bit of time. And once I found out he had it, it was a psychological thing, I think, for me, because then I had people call me like, yo, I heard the guy that you work with had it and you're in the trash truck with him. Like, you all right? So then I start over analyzing myself. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I am feeling a little bit. And I'm FaceTime. My cousin's like, I don't like the way you look. You look a little
Yeah.
pale. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. So then, of course, then my uncle calls me. Oh, dude, you should go get tested. I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
Your cousin was saying you're a little bit this, that. And so I'm like, so then you go get tested. And I was fine. But I think psychologically, like, that absolutely plays on your physical well-being.
Yeah. And I also think, like, just, which might not be a COVID thing, but and I definitely like feel like this was the first time I had submitted to sickness during quarantine, where, like, I was like, I feel a little like shit. I feel a little like shit. And then all of a sudden, like, I literally was just like I just accepted it. I was like, I feel like shit. The minute I accepted it, I had a day off after, like, I'd worked the whole weekend. And the minute that I had, like, settled into, I'm sick.
Yeah.
And then I just, then you even treat yourself differently. It's like, everything you do, I'm walking around, this aches. And, I probably would have just gotten away with just fucking, just not letting it get to me. So who knows? But there's definitely still a little phlegm lingering around in me. So we'll see. Maybe the Delta variant takes a couple weeks to kill you. But, yeah, another fucking thing I was thinking about too with it is, when you were saying, like, how do you even know you have it? How do you know whatever? And it's like, dude, like, fucking, how do we know? Like, it makes me really wonder. I don't know, man. This thing's out of control.
Well, and you know what the other thing is too is, like, obviously you go get tested, but I don't even know, like, are people still even really getting tested? Like, I feel like everything is just moved into getting the shot,
Yeah.
as opposed to, like, you're not really hearing about people getting tested. Now I know for me, my part-time job, like, they're still offering it, so I'll probably wind up getting tested again soon. But yeah, so that was our little,
Well, dude, if you didn't get it as a trash man, like you're going around to every single human being's, like they're quarantined, they're staying inside, and you're going around and basically picking up everybody's dirty garbage. How did you not get the fucking virus?
I don't know, man. I'm like
Yeah,
the toxic Avenger.
dude, you would be the first to go. Like 100% if this was a real full-blown fucking pandemic, I would say like the trash men are the first to die. Like they're the canary in the coal mine.
Well, us, I mean, I think nurses, doctors.
Yeah, but you're up there because you're throwing the shit that they can't even touch out. Like,
yeah,
you're picking up the trash at the hospital. Shit that they're like, get rid of that.
Right.
It's a pandemic. Save that for Tommy to throw out.
Yeah, Tommy the trash man will be here.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be podcasting anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So now I recently came into a little bit of issues because my part-time job is making it mandatory to get the Fauci Ouchie. And I'm not a big fan. And I had a conversation with my boss, and he was relatively cool about it. He was like, listen, I do not believe that it should be mandatory. I agree with you. I understand. But considering where you work, and, he's like, I think this is the only way you're going to be able to travel anymore. And, they're going to make it tough for everybody who doesn't get it. And I'm like, listen, I understand. I still do not, I oppose getting it. So when the time comes, because he was like, it's not going to be mandatory just yet. We're going to wait till it's FDA approved. And I was like, well, when that time comes, we'll cross that bridge. But as of right now, I'm not getting it. And for a part-time job, I pretty much know that when I'm the last man standing, I'm piecing out. It's just not going to happen. And which kind of leads us into some other topics that are kind of going on right now. We're like treading on thin ice here, buddy, because everything's getting censored.
Yeah, oh, we're definitely tread. I don't even know. I was thinking about talking about this one. Like, well, I don't even know what you can talk about now. I just really, and I don't know how the censorship is going to take place with us or with podcasting or whatever, but it's definitely going into different kind of territory now, and it's getting into a scary place.
Some of the platforms which we use to promote will definitely censor it. So I know one thing for certain, one of the things that we've mentioned before on this show, that the biggest way to get us out there is word of mouth. And, tell your friends, family, whoever. But our press secretary for the White House is just out there saying that if there's no need for you on, if you get banned on one platform, that's not good enough. You need to be banned from all of them.
But even just the mere fact, though, that they're working in unison and kind of telling Facebook or working with Facebook to decide who needs to go, who's labeled. Like, I believe they said we have a list right now that include 12 people that we believe are responsible for 65% of the misinformation out there. Who's that? And like, does Tucker Carlson fall into that category? And like, what kind of, like, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening don't like Tucker Carlson. That's fine. But is it fair to know that competition or someone with an opposing view to the political party that's in power is going, like, is any Democrats on that 12-person list,
Well, that's a good question. I highly doubt it. But the thing about that is, who gets to determine what misinformation is? Because even right now, as we stand today, there are things that we know now today that 6 months ago was considered misinformation.
Yeah.
So you could have been banned 6 months ago, but what? Now they're going to let you come back on?
Well, even have you seen the montages of all the Democrats saying negative things about the vaccine during the campaign?
No.
So I didn't even think about this, but somebody keeps posting the things where, remember when they asked like Biden, would you get it? And he was like, I wouldn't get Donald. Would you get Donald? He's saying everything he's not doing. He's like, the only way I would get that vaccine is if there would have to be complete transparency and blah, blah, blah. But as of right now, this thing is going through FDA and it's not really being approved and it's whatever. He's like, I wouldn't take the vaccine. I wouldn't trust it because it wasn't made yet. Like it didn't come out until a day after Trump was elected because that's, they had no clue they were going to release it then. They just miraculously realized, okay, it's done the day after the election. But
no. You said the day after Trump was elected. That's not true.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Now we're really going to get misinformation, whatever. A day after the election is what I meant.
Yes.
But so what happened was they show this montage of Kamala Harris saying,
I do remember. I do remember her. Yeah.
But so just the main thing of it is the only reason why I'm bringing them up is not to say like, look what they said or whatever, but I'm bringing it up because technically right now where we're at, just them saying that would be enough to have them banned. So I'm not saying that they should be banned or I'm not saying, haha, look at them now. I'm saying if under the guidelines of what we're talking about now, that video that they said then that's misinformation. You're scaring people into not taking the vaccine because you're claiming that, it's probably it didn't get FDA approval and it jumped through hoops and it's probably not ready for mass consumption or whatever.
Well, what I think about that's interesting about that, which you were just saying, and I never thought of until you were just talking about this. What happens if Trump wins the election? Do the Democrats push back against, oh, well, this isn't FDA approved? Are the roles reversed then and the way they spin this?
Yeah. You mean like, let's just say we're in this alternate universe where Trump never lost.
Yes, and then he gets credit for this amazing.
Yeah, there'd be no way in hell. That's probably. I mean, I'm just fucking making a thought, but like I would even say that was even contemplated when they didn't, because if you think for a second that people weren't aware that vaccine was coming out before Election Day, you're crazy. So there's a reason why they decided not to announce it until after Election Day. So I would also say that they would have even had an alternative plan on how they were going to treat it moving forward, because I'm 100% positive that in politics, they run by like 5 scenarios of everything they're going to do. They sit down and they come up with a plan of action, a secondary plan of action, a what if plan of action. And I would say that right now we'd be living in a world where they would just people be taking the vaccine. I'm sure, who knows, but right now, like the fact that people are still getting it, like I think what would go on is they would say, take the vaccine, but they would constantly reiterate that it's not an answer to the end of the pandemic.
Yeah. Like so I think this is a good question to ask yourself about the media and what you're being told. Play devil's advocate. Like, do you really think that the narrative would be exactly the same if Trump was in office? Because I do not.
Yeah.
And even the people. So I'll ask you a question. What is your reluctance about the Fauci Ouchie? Why haven't you decided to not get it?
Well, I would say some of it's personal. Like some of it I understand isn't geared in anything but just how I feel. Right. So I'm just not the kind of person who, it's not even a good thing to say. I'm just not like a hospital guy. I'm not like I feel like shit, let me go to the hospital. You know what I mean? And so therefore I have come to this kind of agreement with myself that like, man, I don't know if it's because of the way think about the way we grew up, jumping in the fucking Delaware River or whatever. Like I'm not someone who my immune system was hidden from like bad shit. It was constantly encountering it.
Right.
So my thing is that this, if you read a little bit into it, it's not a normal vaccine. it is actually like it's, when I say the words like DNA altering, it sounds like I'm trying to say that they're trying to change your body. No, but it's not a vaccine in the sense of where it goes in and introduces the virus to your body in small stages so that your body builds up an immunity. It's a vaccine that goes into like a cell or something and actually creates the antibodies for and then teaches your body to create them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the spike proteins.
Yeah.
It's kind of comparable to when you get radiation and it kills, your good cells along with the cancerous cells.
So my thing that this is the part where I have no scientific base for it. But what I've just found with myself is I've always been the unlucky, rare person when it doesn't help you. Like I've been the person that I'm not the person that wins the lottery. And it's, wow, that's never happened that a guy just bought a ticket randomly for $1 and win the lottery. I'm the guy that randomly buys the ticket for $1. And it happens to be the one time that 100 million people did the same thing. And I only get $1. You get what I'm saying? Right. I'm like the rarity guy where I go into the doctors and they're like, this is the weirdest thing ever because normally 99% of the time this doesn't happen, but with you it did. So for me, I feel like I'm pretty good. I feel like a healthy person, but I also feel like you don't want to fuck around with that, Right. And so I'm good there and I'm not scared of the virus. I'm not saying that I can't die of it. I'm not saying that I can't get it, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but my thing is there's just nothing about it that scares me. And then to add to this, there really is something to the fact that they have to push this thing on you. Like the joke that people say is the way you can tell that it's not a real pandemic is because a real pandemic doesn't need an ad campaign to scare you, Right. And so I think that, and like people say, if you didn't watch the news, you wouldn't know there was a pandemic. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, let me ask you a question. Well, that's my answer anyway. That's about as full as my answer gets because, it's just basically, it's very personal. That's the thing too. It's something that I also know that someone could say to me, that's dumb, man, or whatever. You know how many times people said that to me in my life? That's the way I live. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do.
Right.
I've never let anyone force me what to do. And the more they've tried to force me what to do, the more I ain't doing it, Right. Like I've passed up on good things in the past because I'm like, fuck that. I don't understand what's going on. They're trying to force this on me. I don't like it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I'm not saying that I'm right and I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I'm telling you that's me. That's where I'm at. And so it's just weird that they have to push it on you and scare you into it. And, I was thinking the other day, let me ask you a question. Have you seen anyone like, what is your, if I was to say to you, like because I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but my question to you is, how do you know that the virus exists? Like what made you go like, oh shit? Because we both believe it exists. There's certain things that have happened, whether I've seen them on Facebook or something, but like, who do you know that has died of COVID?
Well, I don't know. I personally don't know anybody that died of COVID. Now, let me specify that of COVID. I know people that died with COVID. But they were also sick. They were older and they were sick. I also know people who should have been extremely cautious about getting, or should have been, were very concerned about getting COVID because of other health complications. And they got it and they were okay. They really hardly even knew they had it. So part of the reason I asked you that question is because this is something that they were talking about on sports radio this morning. And some of the Philadelphia Phillies players aren't vaccinated. Some are. Some people were just put on the COVID list. So the argument was, would you be mad about your teammate not getting a vaccination and missing time if they're sick, obviously? Now, there was like certain people that were saying, well, I don't think, this is where I get really confused with people's argument. I don't think that you should force anybody to get it. But I would be mad if somebody didn't get it and missed time from work. And my thing is this, even if, because we're seeing, even if you are vaccinated, you're still getting it. Some people are still missing work. With that being said, obviously, the people that are unvaccinated could miss extended time, possibly because, their symptoms, unvaccinated people are showing more extreme symptoms, and hospitalizations. But my whole thing is this. Me personally, I'm kind of like with you, when I've always kind of been that person that like never really bowed down to peer pressure. And like when a bunch of people are kind of telling me to do something,
The more they gang up,
and the more I get a little bit like, I start thinking in the back of my head, like, this is a little bit weird.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't feel right to me. And obviously there, you could say, well, there's science. There's all these studies that show how this will work. But right from the beginning of all this, there has been so many inconsistencies. CDC, the WHO, the WHO, whatever. They don't even have, they're not on the same page with certain policies and certain ways to go about certain things regarding COVID. So then we go into the hydroxychloroquine. And the studies that were like, no, it doesn't work, and all this disinformation. Then you see the studies that do work. Then you have a guy like Brett Weinstein on the Joe Rogan podcast with a doctor saying ivermectin is a cheap drug. It has been effective. The reason why it's not being used is, part of the reason is because it is cheap, and it's, there's millions of dollars to be gained. Then today, I just saw from the Miami Herald, common cholesterol drug reduces risk of COVID death by 40%, study finds. Now, is there any legitimacy to that study? People would say, well, there's not enough study, like that. We haven't conducted enough studies for this. Well, how haven't you conducted enough studies for this, for ivermectin, which has been around for years, the hydroxychloroquine, which has been around for years, but now you just made up a vaccine that came out of fucking thin air, and there's all these studies done?
Well, no. That's what Weinstein or whatever was saying on Rogan's thing is they lowered the bar for the vaccine, but they raised the bar for anything else. So in other words, if you need to do 1 million studies and they need to prove, 100% accuracy for usually making a vaccine, they said, you know what, we're going to throw that out the window on the vaccine. As long as there's enough studies that show enough positive rate, we'll go with it. But now when you come at them with ivermectin, or when you come at them with hydroxychloroquine, it needs to be held to a higher standard than it used to have to be held to. You know what I'm saying? So it's not making any sense to me. But
one of the things that he pointed out was the company that makes ivermectin was in the game for a new vaccine or new COVID drugs.
Yeah.
So, but I think the big question, and it's something I was just listening to Crystal Ball and Sagar, their new podcast, which is what the hell is it? Something
like something burning or something. Burning Point.
Is that what it is? Burning Points? It is Breaking Points.
Breaking Points.
And I would recommend listening to them, to anybody that kind of wants to break away from the mainstream media. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on this show before, but Sagar is a Republican, Crystal is a progressive, but they really push back against their parties and just, I guess, the political establishment as it is. And one of the things they were talking about on the episode today is, what is it? Because there's a high, I think they were saying over 100 million people are still not vaccinated in this country, which the projection for the Biden administration was around, they want it to be around 75% at this point. They're well below that.
Well, they're at 60 or something.
There's a large population in the African American community that is not. And they were saying, listen, 100 million people, it's not 100 million Republicans, because the Biden administration, Democrats, they're trying to spin this in a way that it's a Republican and Democrat thing. And the reality is this: 100 million people that haven't gotten it, they're not all Republicans. The African American community overwhelmingly, by and large, usually supports Democrats. They are not. A large portion of them are not vaccinated. So what is the question? Why are people not getting it? And again, so like for me personally, like I was saying, I've never been somebody that really bows down to peer pressure. And it's really weird to me that I have to kind of explain to people, like if it comes up and they ask me, I feel like this like guttural reaction, because like I don't ask anybody else if they're vaccinated, because it really doesn't matter to me if they are or aren't.
Yeah.
So like I feel really weird when people ask me, and then I tell them no, and then they're like, well, why? Like, why not? You know, like you have to do it for grandmom and you have to do it for other people. And the response to that, which is kind of interesting, because I heard this, I was actually thinking it, and then I heard somebody else talking about it, which always fucking happens. Usually when we take long breaks and I'm listening to other different things and I'm thinking about current events and talking points, I hear shit and I'm like, fuck, I was thinking that. But imagine, we actually kind of talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but imagine this. Imagine that part of the vaccine was peanuts. There was peanuts in the vaccine. There's millions of people with peanut allergies. Would you force that upon them? Because you know people are going to get sick, people are going to die. Now, with that being said, I recognize that the deaths and the reactions, it's low in contrast to the amount of people that have taken the vaccine. Get that? Totally on board with that. I get it. I understand. My thing is, why would you force somebody? How would you feel? I just saw some fucking retarded politician that was saying, I'm not having any unvaccinated people at Thanksgiving. Imagine being in a situation where your friends or family or your work forces you into getting this vaccine, or peer pressures you, whatever the case is, and then you have horrible reaction to it or death. How the fuck would you feel knowing that you told them that they had to get that to protect grandma?
Well, dude, this is another part of the conclusion I've come to. Anytime that I give in to what people say, things have happened, with me constructing my house. Things have happened with the way I handle situations at work or in my life. There's always the guy standing on the sideline like, dude, I would tell that fucking realtor to go fuck themselves, or I would fucking whatever. And then what happens is, you ever get so mad that you just do what they tell you? Like, all right, fine. And when it happens and the fucking walls come crumbling in on you, you look back at that person and you're like, dude, and they're like, hey, my bad. Like it doesn't matter. Nothing even, it doesn't matter that what happened that you were trying to avoid. It was like you trying to avoid that kind of situation led you to have everyone give you their input on what you're doing wrong, what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, he's an idiot. Yo, man, I keep telling him he needs to do that. And then you do it and it blows up in your face, and you go back to those people like, I fucking did what you told me to do. And look, I lost my fucking job, or I whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like they don't, I'm not saying they don't care, but it's like, you realize that they didn't have any skin. Nobody's got any skin in your game anyway. They just enjoy fucking telling you what to do from the sidelines. You know what I mean? Right. And so my thing is like, no, I'm like, because that's what I think about. Like, I can imagine me looking at people in 15 years and going like, dude, like fucking, I have no nerves in my fucking arm anymore because you fucking made me take the vaccine, or you fucking convinced me, or and it's not even like I'm saying you did anything. It's like I'm saying to myself out loud, like, I fucking did what I knew I shouldn't have done. And the worst happened to me, and it's my own fault. And I'm blaming it on that person, but not because they did anything. It's like I'm saying to myself, and I let you do that. Like I knew not to listen to you, but I did it because I didn't want to put up with the shit that I put up with 90% of my life.
Right.
And now I'm in this situation. And so the thing that I really believe is everybody just wants you in their situation. Like in my life, since I've been someone who chose to do the whatever, you got a bunch of people that like let's just to make up a scenario, which never really happened because most of my friends always supported it. But my family, let's say, I mean, I go and tell them something that's wrong in my life now, and they're like, you should have never went to Florida. You should have stayed here, like we said. They're always, you know what I mean? And it's like all they wanted me to, like, if I would have stayed home and if I would have done the things they wanted me to do, they wouldn't have treated me any better. They would have just had more control over me. Like I'm living in their basement with no job. And they're just like good, you know what I mean? And they're going to tell me other shit I should have done, you know what I mean? So I just feel like, a lot of people that tell you not what it. Well, let's just put it this way. This is where I get crazy in the conspiracy stuff when you're talking about like, why do they want you to take the vaccine? And then you said that people are going to be looking at you and saying, you didn't take the vaccine. Why? You're going to kill people. You're going to this, you're going to that. Right. Bro, I 100% like believe that all of this is because I believe there's something else bigger going on. I don't know what it is, but this is not it. This is not it. It's not about saving people. It's not about everybody's got to get the vaccine. I don't know what it's about. I've even went over in my head. It could be just merely about the fact that Biden needs to hit these numbers. Like he might just be forcing people to do things because he's embarrassed that he hasn't hit the 70,000 number that he promised. Maybe it's as simple as that. However, I think that there is other things going on. And basically, if you think about it, if you can tell someone, all right, we're going to make you get the vaccine, the government said it's good for you. So the first round goes out and the first round of people that line up willingly to take the vaccine, you can mark down in your little book, these are good disciples. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you go through phase 2. You get the guys, we need to give you some fucking lottery tickets. You get the free. Okay. These guys are just disciples of anything. We know how to make, this is the part of the population that we can easily fucking manipulate. You know what I mean? Now you go through phase 3. These are the motherfuckers that need to submit. These are the people that are going to be a problem. This next round of individuals that refuse to take the vaccine are the people that will not listen to us, no matter what we tell them. They're not sheep. They're not easily swayed by fucking hanging a carrot in front of their face. These are the people. Like right now, if you were to be a ruler of society, you can easily identify, if you had a book that showed you who at this point does not have the vaccine, you've already weeded out the maybe lazy people because you fucking drove it to them and gave it to them at their door, So now you're left with the people that, if you want to have a fully submissive society, you now can identify who your problem is. And so now those people, by making them do things like if you work at a casino, you have to wear the mask if you're unvaccinated. When that person is walking around the casino with a mask on, everyone in that casino is like, that's an unvaccinated person. And everyone at that casino is going to say to that person, why aren't you vaccinated? Why didn't you get vaccinated? You're a bad person. What are you, like Trump? You should do this. You should do that. So I think what they're going for now is it's all about making you submit. So let's just say that they got you to take the vaccine somehow. Let's just say eventually you just went, whatever, I got to get it to keep my fucking job so I'll get the vaccine. Now you've submitted, dude. And that's what it's like, I don't know if you remember me telling you about what they do to POWs, where they just make them write a nice letter home and we'll give you a cheeseburger. And they think, Oh, well, that's easy. I'll just write. I don't have to write anything bad about America. I just write a nice letter home, and they think, oh man, this is easy. I'll just write this letter and I'll get a cheeseburger. And what that POW doesn't understand is the first segment of brainwashing isn't to make you do certain things or make you think a different way. It's just simply to make you do something on command. So yeah, you didn't write anything bad in that letter, but you wrote a letter. They told you to write a letter and you wrote a letter. So I feel like if you were to get the vaccine, just whatever, man, I'll get it. Then the next thing that could, like, the vaccine was tough for you to do, but now they tell you got to get a booster shot. You're like, I already got the vaccine. You know what I mean? And so you've submitted. So I really do just think that it's just like fucking taming a fucking horse or something. It's like you just get them to do something to submit, and that's how you control the population.
Well, yeah, and not only that, I mean, because we have certain, California. I don't know if all of California is going back into lockdown.
I think it's just LA County.
You have other countries that are going back into lockdowns. And I think, which was something Crystal Ball brought up earlier, if America goes back into, if Joe Biden calls for a federal lockdown, that's going to look really bad on him, especially then what's the point of these vaccines? So it's really going to backfire on him if they go that route, which I don't think they're going to do. Suddenly they'll leave it back up to the states. But I almost lost my fucking train of thought there. But that's I think the goal is because, again, come election time, they're going to use this. They're going to continue to spin it. It's like Republican versus Democrat. It's vaccinated versus unvaccinated. It's black versus white. It's just another dynamic of these identity politics that is just causing such a divide in this country, where the thing that just is mind-boggling to me is that if the vaccine's working, why are you so worried if I don't have it? The only person that should be worried are you and I. We don't have it, so we'll be the ones in the hospital. So like, I hate when people say to me like, well, you're going to kill people, like, or you're going to get people sick. Like, well, what are you worried about? Like, if you're vaccinated, it works, you're going to be fine. You might have a little sniffles. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And I just, what's really, really scary to me is when you just go all throughout history. There's Aristotle, whether it's Galileo, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Tesla. All of these people who spoke out against the status quo were, no pun intended, and then were literally crucified. They were shunned and banned from society. And then years later, we're like, oh, we fucked that up.
Yeah.
It's even like you look back on the Iraq War and you're like, well, yeah, maybe we kind of screwed that up. And the biggest thing is that the government does these things 10 years down the road. I mean, because there's already study after study about the mass amounts of suicide, the mass amounts of drug addiction, all of these other unintended consequences, the hits that it's taken to the economy 10 years down the road. When we look back on how we handled COVID, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, well, had we done it this way, there's going to be a lot of mistakes to go back and say, well, now moving forward, hopefully you would think that we would do it better. But the government, nobody in the government's going to come out and say, yeah, we fucked up on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, once we give them, it's the same thing with after 9/11 and, with the Patriot Act, mm-hmm. when they were able to spy on citizens.
That's where the NSA was born from.
Once you give government these powers, they're not going back on it. Now we have Biden, who wants to help with the, like we said, on the social media. Now they want to get in with the phone companies and start censoring your texts.
But dude, this is the thing that I think is, like, people look at me like I'm fucking crazy, but like, this isn't the same shit as throughout history. Like, there has never been a time where the government said, like, now here's the thing. Did they do it? Sure. But somebody could say, well, so what that they're saying it as opposed to doing it. It's the same thing as your kids sneaking weed behind your fucking back or being allowed to fucking have his own weed and smoke, and he can only smoke in the garage. It's like, I'd rather have them understandably knowing that what they're doing is not right, and and if they get caught, they'd be outed by the public. And like when you said the Patriot Act, or going back to all these different things that we talk about 10 years later, the thing that may be different about this situation is in the Iraq war, we were all unified and we were all fooled by the weapons of mass destruction bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then but at the same time, we all were unified and we were all under the impression, we weren't polarized. Like, you know, people might at the surface level, we were all on board with it. There's probably a lot of people in politics or in the know that have come out and said, I've been saying that it's a bad idea, that we didn't have it, whatever. But the thing is the people are always wanting the information. So in other words, 10 years ago, I wanted to know if we had weapons of mass destruction. And 20 years ago. And then in somewhere in my head, I came to the conclusion that like going into Iraq was probably a good idea. And the weapons of mass destruction thing sounds like it might be legit. When I find out that it wasn't there, I think we're all collectively are like, yeah, that they fucking lied to us. But let's just say 10, 20 years from now, when we're 50, right? Or, you know, whatever, your liberal friends aren't going to be like, man, I was really wrong about that whole situation, wasn't I? Because right now we don't have a situation where we're all unified and we're like, oh my God, it's a pandemic. Let's all fucking, and then we've been lied to. 10 years from now, when people are going to be digging for the truth, your friends aren't going to want to hear the truth because they're still like, dude, I just personally can't see people disconnecting from this and saying, you know, like, oh yeah, Fauci was bad. You know what I mean? And so therefore, a lot of these people are still going to be alive. You would really need like a full new generation of people who aren't underneath this ideology to actually dissect what happened non-biasly, you know?
Yeah.
And where I say this is very different than past times is they're right in your face saying, yeah, we're going to censor your speech. We like right now, if they decided to take Fox News off the air, people would be furious and half of the country would be happy. But in 2010, everyone would be like, hey man, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so what's scaring me more and more is even when I was looking at the things that the liberals, the things that Kamala Harris and Biden have said about this vaccine, even to this day, when people show me something Nancy Pelosi said 40 years ago, like when I see a clip where they're like, Nancy Pelosi's not for, you know, the fucking vaccines, but here's something she said 40 years ago. And you show her saying like, government should not ever force anyone to do anything with health. People can change over 40 years. Like, I'm not really concerned that she said something different than we know she's a swamp creature. It's 40 years in the swamp. Of course, she said something different. But we live in a world now where I can show you shit Biden and Harris have said every 3 months that contradict themselves. Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait years to unearth this weird video where she said something different, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't matter to people. They're like, so what? Like, so basically in the world of misinformation, if I just followed what Kamala Harris said for the past 2 years, I would be a different person every 3 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when I think about this censorship shit, I like to take it on like a small level. Just imagine all of our groups of friends. We all have a group of friends. We all have a group that we're involved in. Imagine if in your group, somebody was the arbiter of truth, right? So just one person or one little group out of your whole group were able to interject at any time and be like, Tommy, you're not allowed to speak anymore because you're just misinformation. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like I understand that that's not necessarily the same thing that's going on, but in a way it is, where Like how could you let anyone make that decision? And I understand how people might think, because in their head they think in QAnon, like everything's QAnon and Alex Jones. You know what I mean? And so to them, they're like, yeah, it's probably 12 Alex Joneses, but it's not. And if you give them that kind of power, you know, like they're like, what, like, is it, it just doesn't make any sense, because like people keep saying on the flip side of the hypocrisy is, you know, they're going to shut down Hunter Biden's stories as disinformation. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to have anyone be able to do that. You know what? Honestly, in a non-transparent way. Like if you can't say to the public, hey, this is this person, and we're going to have an open hearing as to why, they're going to go like kind of have like a defense and a fucking whatever. And and if they unilaterally, bipartisanly come to the conclusion that this guy is pure misinformation for cause of, you know, disruption and a bad effect on the society, I'm not saying I'd be for it then. I'm just saying, like, it would at least understandable, like maybe in certain times call for certain measures, but that's not what this is. It's not what this is. And when I was asking you about, like, have you known anybody that died from the virus? If there was no news, like, I don't, like, I'm not trying to fucking say the virus isn't there, but what I do know is that I haven't been sick in a year and a half, and that no one I really know has been sick. And anyone that has is like, I guess I had fucking COVID, but you're still here. Nobody's fucking dead. My, you know, my ex's fucking grandmother, who was like 90 years old, got it and talked to her every day and said she didn't even feel anything. She was fine. We all know someone who knows someone who died of COVID, which is enough to say it exists. But a pandemic would scare you. A pandemic, like, you know, if you were living in the times of the plague and you open up your fucking door and they're wheelbarrowing fucking dead people down the street.
Right.
You're like, I got to get the vaccine. I need something. And I'll take the vaccine then, because I'd be like, listen, that you could tell me this guy said it, that guy said it, whatever, whoever said it. The bottom line is it seems to be working for people that are taking it. And I'm at a point where it's either take it or die anyway. I'm taking it. But I'm not at the point where it's like, well, if you have obesity and you're 79 years old and blah, blah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and that's also the other thing. Like if you lived during the time of the plague, just think about all the information that you are completely unaware about, right? So you're just seeing those things and you're like, yeah, I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah.
But now we have information at our hands. We have information that, you know, the majority of people that were critically ill and sick were obese. There was a high percentage of people that were vitamin D deficient. Why are we not talking about any other, you know, possible, like take care of yourself, you know, make sure you're exercising, make sure you're getting outside, get, you know, fresh air and vitamin D from the sun, you know, make sure you're trying to reduce inflammation in the body by cutting back on processed foods and fried foods and all that stuff. These are all things that we know can help your overall health in general. Nobody's talking about that. They're giving out French fries and Krispy Kremes and pizza and just junk to get you to do it. And it's like, that's exactly the things that are making people sick overall and shitty health.
Well, this is what...
so you don't have that. And then we have other options that people are saying, hey, these are legit. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Now this new study I just said talked about the cholesterol statins. But they want to shut that down as disinformation. It's like,
yeah, and who's pushing that button?
And it's like, so, well, then what are we talking about? You're telling me that the cure, the cure for the disease that was the survival rate in 99.8, there's only one cure, only one thing that could potentially cure it, and you just whipped it up in like 9 months? Like, I just...
Well, dude, when you said the thing about, like, you know, they're not telling you to do anything healthy. I may have said this on here before, but either way, it's something this is what shows me that the people that are controlling our information are maybe not people with our best interest at heart. And one of the reasons why I say this is, you know, those joke texts that I put out from Eddie Pepitone, where he'll always say, like, the world's ending and fucking 7,000 people just died in Chicago and whatever, but no fear. Slurpees are buy one, get one free at 7-Eleven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason why I love those posts is because it's like when I was watching the news during quarantine and I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I'm going to manage $350 a week, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, the news would be like, Fox or whoever would be like, all right, we're going to bring on the Jimmy John's fucking guy to talk about, he would do a little talk about what he cares about, what he's doing. Like, what's Jimmy John's doing for the fucking quarantine? Oh, well, we're trying to get our kitchens together and we're putting everything out through Grubhub and we're trying to keep our fucking employees alive and da-da-da-da. We're giving this much to whatever. And so this week, we're giving 20% off on Groupon for our Jimmy John sandwiches, And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, if I order Grubhub every time I'm a single guy on $350 a week. If I ordered Grubhub, it would be $50. You know what I mean? And it's like, why isn't someone coming on TV and telling me how to make fucking $10 get me through the week? How come nobody's on here telling me that if I buy lunch meat and bread and certain things that I could learn to feed my family on $350 a week? And to me, the overall thing is it's just about fucking like that. Like, just the bottom line is if you came to me for advice, like, yo, what do we do during the quarantine? I'm like, I'm going to have some guy on our show. He's going to tell us what to do for the quarantine. And the guy comes on and he says, since you're trying to manage your money, remember that Groupon offers 30% and also gives you free delivery from fucking Pizza Hut. Like, that's not how you manage your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason why people don't push, I remember reading this when I was on the paleo diet. One of the reasons why the paleo diet was the most unpopular diet at the time was because it was kind of shunned in the media, and there was a media push against it, where one of the things that people would come out and say about it was because you're trying to eat like you did was like 150,000 years ago or something. They're saying they were like, it's just impossible to do that. So therefore that was the negative thing of the diet. But what they started to show you was the reality of it was that you're not supposed to eat processed foods. That was the paleo thing. No processed foods whatsoever.
Right.
Well, who owns the media? Kraft and fucking, all these different processed foods, Frito-Lay and Doritos. Why would they ever allow Oprah to talk about a diet that forces you to then not buy their products? So if Oprah was to come out and say, guys, don't eat things like Kraft, so that's how our media is controlled. Like, you can't talk about a diet. So what are the diets that people like Oprah push? The lean cuisines, where it's fucking macaroni and cheese and shit that you can eat with all this different new shit that really isn't sugar and it's all processed shit. Like you say to me, it's the plant burgers that are actually processed shit. So these are the people that are controlling what they want us to do, how they want us to live. And it's crazy. It's crazy that I haven't seen anyone in the media do one segment on how to save fucking money and live like a normal human being and bypassing overpriced corporate food products.
Oh yeah. Well, and here was just something I saw today too, when it comes to when we talk about censorship and misinformation. So on April 27th, these were 3 articles that were published by Reuters. Healthcare and Pharmaceuticals, April 27th, U.S. CDC has not seen a link between heart inflammation and COVID-19 vaccinations. May 22nd, U.S. CDC looking into heart inflammation in some young vaccine recipients. June 25th, FDA to add warning about rare heart inflammation to Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. So at what point do you censor those articles for misinformation? You know what I mean? And they're a matter of a month apart. So there's just so much more information that we are unaware of. And by censoring people, shutting things down, shutting down the conversations, and only talking about one cure, that's it. One size fits all for every single fucking human being. You're just asking. And that is another reason why, for me, I feel really uncomfortable about it. I realize that the risks are low. But I just feel like, listen, I know my body. I'm not saying that I can't get it. I'm not saying that it can't even kill me. But I'm also saying that I could potentially take something that might kill me too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like flying. I know the risks of flying are low, but I still have I have a terrible fear of flying. It is what it is. That's who I am. And I do not feel comfortable being pressured into something, and society, my professional, work and everything, all this pressure on you to take this, this jab. And there's still a lot of information that we don't know. There's still a lot of information that, like, again, that we've talked about on this podcast from months ago that we said, and then it comes true. It's like,
but even at the time we were saying them, you or me are kind of like, yeah, well, blah, 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 but like whatever, because of either a fear of really getting into something that seems to not be like, it's not, you don't want to get too deep into something that you don't really know everything about, but it interests you. So therefore you're not even allowed to act on the interest of it without kind of being
right.
like maybe dumb for doing it,
And the last thing I don't want to come off as like this conspiracy guy. Like, I don't want to be that guy, like, oh, look at, here we go again. We're just going to talk more conspiracies. It's like, no, why are you just blindly following what the TV's telling you?
Yeah.
What politicians that only care about being elected and gaining power, like, why do you care about that?
Well, and we say this too. Listen, whether people like, listen, I ain't saying, I'm not well read. I don't read a lot of books. I don't whatever, but there are people out there who, listen, man, they go to school, they read certain books and they get told what to read. They read that and then they go through their whole life. Like, they might not even be readers. They go through their whole life. They feel like, I read fucking War and Peace and fucking this other book and this on fucking Karl Marx and that. And so now they've got their little shit together, and going forward, when they do nothing that it requires them to be an intellectual of any kind, they always feel that they're in some way superior to people like myself who aren't well read. However, I read shit on the internet all the time, and I'm not talking about, fucking weird articles. I'm talking about, I will read a CNN article about ivermectin just to see what they say. And what I come to find, and I posted this today on Twitter. I'm like, look, I've been a bartender for 20 years. I've been sorting through bullshit my whole life.
Right.
I've been sitting at a bar and hearing and seeing people believing this person,
right,
because they're the reliable person. But I know the fucking truth about that person because I was there when they did what they did. And now I'm watching them lie, and I'm watching them win over the people because, well, she would never do such things. She's such and such person. And we all love her, and she would never. And sometimes their shit gets found out and sometimes it doesn't. But underneath, I always now know to take them with a grain of salt in my own life. You can follow, I won't, but also I have developed my own bullshit meter that I'm comfortable with. I also have noticed in my world that a lot of people don't have a bullshit meter, and they believe anything a person says, a certain person, not based on what they've done, but just simply based on their appearance, how they present it, and what that person thinks of them, and the amount of times that fucking house of cards has fallen in front of me is insane. So with that being said, I'm being told, like when we were talking about taking the vaccine and whatever, and like you're being told to take it, and people are saying you need to take it. Why aren't you taking it? And then talking about misinformation, blah, blah. But we're also talking about people who refuse to read. Like I came to the conclusion that I came to, which, by the way, even what they believe my conclusion is based on the little dumb shit that they read of headlines. I'm a QAnon guy. I have a very rational reason for not wanting to take the vaccine. And some of it is me accepting the fact that part of it is accepting the fact that I don't know everything about it. And so therefore I'm making a choice based on that.
Right.
But someone else, like we don't know everything about it, but the person who told me that the Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation, and the person that has been telling me constantly simple fucking talking points from headlines from CNN about how to fucking live my life and what's wrong with me, you know what I mean? And now I have to take the vaccine because of that person. The same person that I know would refuse to read any information against it. Like if someone came in here and was a doctor and I trusted them and they were just my friend and I started talking to them and I said, hey man, read this. And that guy came back and was like, yo, I read it. And I don't know if you know this, but that newspaper is actually known for disinformation and they're linked to fucking this fucking corporate, you know, it's like, oh, now the dude's not, he's just letting me know the information. I don't know any liberal. I really don't know any liberal that's ever said anything other to me than like, oh, Tucker Carlson or blah, blah, blah. Like no one has ever said to me, like the reason why the Gateway pundit is bullshit is because X, Y, and Z, you know, They just tell me it is because they said that they like Trump. And now that they're a newspaper that seems to be on the other side of their shit, that just means they're disinformation, you know? And that's not, I'm sorry, I don't live my life. Like if I lived my life, like if I went into work and everybody told me like, you know, like I say to people, it's like, I don't judge a dude off of the shit his ex-girlfriend says about him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I don't decide how I'm going to treat somebody because, well, I don't know if you know, but Cheryl said, I don't care what fucking Cheryl said. Okay. Cheryl is biased. Cheryl has a reason to set out to destroy this man's life for her own fucking selfish interest. So people have this blindness to authority. Like people have this thing of like, but it's Joe Biden. He wouldn't lie to us. What the fuck? Of course he would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what, you know, and it sucks that you got to get into this game of like, look what he said. Look at this video. And you just happen to get the clip from fucking Alex Jones or something and you're crazy. But it's like, you know, it's like, what else are you supposed to do to people that just won't fucking, like, just sit down, have a rational fucking conversation with somebody? Like, why? We're talking about people's lives and people are just out fucking outright, you know, condemning people and putting them in a fucking box. People that they've known their whole lives. And now all of a sudden the dude, like, I have a good reason for not getting the vaccine, but now all of a sudden it's like everyone is smarter than you and you're in a box. No matter how you lived your whole life, now you're a fucking, like if some dude came out that runs a fucking corporation tomorrow and he said, yeah, I don't believe in the vaccine. And I also believe that, you know, there was a lot of faulty shit in the election. Like he's done. He's considered a more imbecile the next day in all the mass media. I mean, if you can't see that is bias and that is not information you should be accepting on face value from Rachel Maddow, then there's something wrong with you, not with me, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, you know, think of it as another reason. Like imagine, so a lot of people say, well, it's Republicans that aren't getting the vaccination. Well, one, like a lot of people will say, oh, well, what? Because of Trump? Because, you know, well, Trump, he said, you know, get the vaccination. He's told people you should get it. It's great. It's good for everybody. It's going to get us back on track, blah, 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 blah. I don't care that he said it. I voted for Trump. I'm not going to blindly follow just because he said it. Yeah, I wanted him to win, but I'm not just going to do what he said. You know what I mean? And then on the same time, so you had between Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and the Democrats as a whole, for the past few years, they've been telling people like me that I'm an uneducated, deplorable, racist, homophobic, whatever, conspiracy QAnon fucking wacko that's you know, that's a terrorist and a danger to American society.
Yeah, as you're fucking making your lunchbox to go to work.
Yeah, but please, but trust this. You take this, you take this shot and shut up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. All right. I'm the worst. I'm the bottom of the barrel, according to you.
Yeah.
And now you're going to say, now you're worried about me?
Yeah.
Now you're worried about me? You're telling me people like me are a threat to American society. You know what I mean? Like January 6th is the worst day since the Civil War. Like, come on, man.
But and this is the thing too. Like I even like posted something on Twitter the other day or something too, where I'm like, underneath like one of Biden's speeches, and I'm like, yo, I was like not Richard Grinnell, Glenn Greenwald or whatever, like posted something about like how he's, talking to the other side, how he's somebody said something and it makes sense. And I was listening to it right as I was coming down. It was Tim Pool. And he was saying, the more I'm listening to Biden, the more it's becoming relevant. Like there's two, this country is divided in two. And because what he's saying is like, when they're coming out and they're talking about like, even just as simple as like half the red states are opened up and the other states are shut down, but they're coming out and the way they're speaking about it, it's like, you're not talking to everyone as a whole. Like you have to talk to everyone as a whole if they're included. So if you give a speech and you basically designate anyone that's outside of those lines, like you're dividing the country in complete half. You know what I mean? You're not reaching out to anybody. And I listened to one of his speeches and I wrote underneath the thing, I'm like, dude, what I'm confused about is like, every time I look at this dude, it's like he's yelling at me. It's like he's yelling at me, calling me a name, tell me what I'm doing wrong and tell me. And I'm like, I thought politicians are supposed to like want my vote. Like he's not coming out. And this is what's really confusing me. The Democrats aren't trying to win my vote. And I'm sure some dumb fucking liberal that doesn't know anything would say to me, yeah, because you don't realize, like they treat me like as if I'm only 49% of the country. Dude, when you win an election by only 2% or 3% or whatever it is, your goal is to continually, like, especially when you're in the power seat, you can lose people fast. Your goal is to, even if it's ungenuine, you're supposed to come out and you're supposed to speak to everyone and say, guys, I know you're not getting the vaccine, but you have to trust us. Trust us. I understand that there's a lot of people out there giving misinformation, but you need to understand that we care about you, whether you're a fucking Trump supporter or whatever, and we want you to get the vaccine. Like, no, they're coming out like you're a dog shit person if you don't get the fucking vaccine, and that's coming from the highest point.
Well, Trump wasn't very unifying,
dude.
So you can't blame Biden, because it's not like Trump was on there like, hey, liberals, like I like you, like come on, we need to get along, blah blah blah. Like
wait.
There was a lot of calling people communists. And there was a lot of like, oh, those snowflakes, crybabies out there. So look, it goes. Take
a breath. No, I'll let you leave that statement. I'll let you keep that statement. However, we're talking about two different things.
Yeah, but
you're talking about just rhetoric. We're talking about just rhetoric.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're saying I'm listening to Biden. He's supposed to uplift us, but Trump wasn't doing that either. To be fair,
Trump came out to give a speech about maybe the vaccine, he would say, love me or hate me, this is a great, you could hate what he's saying,
yeah, but
he didn't come out and say, like regardless, because you're making it like this is the thing. I don't accept that argument in the times that we're in the situation that is in, because I mean, like the Trump has tried many times. For example, like you've even said, Trump's tweet where we're talking about a lot of things that we're seeing visually that Trump does, like, but name a time in a crucial moment where Trump decided to come out and call half the country pieces of shit. He would come out and say, you'll see, they like taxes. I mean, they don't, people don't want taxes. People don't want whatever. You don't want to give free this. That's different. These are political things. What I'm talking about is, put it this way, the BLM shit, okay? Did Trump go around rounding motherfuckers up with the FBI? He did. The whole thing is actions and words are different. Biden's allowed to say that insurrectionists are fucking bad. He's allowed to say whatever he wants about the insurrection itself. But if Trump did to BLM what's being done to those people at numerous points, it would never be allowed. So therefore, yeah, Trump can say whatever he wants about BLM, but he didn't break the pattern of how the fucking system works. He allowed the mayors to do what they had to do. Because you took this to a different place though.
No. You were saying that Biden, you're listening to his speeches and he's speaking to you like he's talking down to you. And I'm like, but on the flip side to that, there were people listening to Trump that could feel the same way.
Yeah, but we're talking about being taken off the internet.
But
we're talking about me sitting here going, hey, what's going to happen with my fucking podcast tomorrow? And me looking at and being told like, it's fucking misinformation and you're fucking killing people. And if you say it, we're taking it down and the government's taking it down and like having no fucking recourse for it.
No, I agree with you on that. I am completely on board with you when it comes to that. There's a line that this administration has definitely crossed. So there's no question in my mind that, yes, you're right. I'm saying from you were like, I'm going on the Biden speeches and I'm feeling like this dude's talking down to me from his language. But I was just trying to say, well, yes, but the other side, the same thing, or liberals and Democrats, whatever, were feeling the same way listening to a Trump speech.
But Trump was coming out in his speeches, like name a Trump speech, a big Trump speech. Like I'm talking about the addresses, the whatever they're called, the fucking presidential address to nation, or like his inauguration speech. He said, I am the fucking president for everyone. And I'm giving this back to the people, whether you're a fucking Democrat or a fucking Republican. And they walked away from that going, oh, I fucking hate him because he's a fucking whatever. They don't hate him from shit that he said in speeches that he was trying to be presidential. They hate him because of Russian collusion.
You're missing what I'm saying to you here. You're trying to defend it to an extent that I'm not, because I agree with what he was saying was taken out of context. I'm agreeing that Biden is taking this to a whole nother level. What I'm saying is when you're hearing Joe Biden speak and you're like, I feel like he's talking down to me from the words and the things that he's saying, I was just saying that, look, Trump was the same way. They're both divisive. So if you don't agree with Trump's policies, and you're looking at him in the way he talks when you take certain things and him mocking people and the things that he tweets, you could easily say that that's why Democrats and that's why there's so much of a divide.
And like I said, that rhetoric is fine on a daily basis. Like, and first off, a lot of Trumps are responding to attacks, number one. But Trump, yes. If Trump decides to say that fucking Rachel Maddow is a fucking communist bitch or something, hey, that might have but think about who that's dividing. Like, oh my God, you talked about Rachel Maddow. I'm talking about listening to a speech and saying, okay, what is going on with voter rights? What is going on? Why is he talking about the election? So I'm listening to him. His goal of being there is, like, in other words, this is the thing. It's the same thing. Like it's a film term called form follows function. His mission, the only reason why I'm glued that day, I'm not glued to listen to what Biden says at the Democratic.
But you also said his mission as president is to unify you, to sell you into reelecting him. And that's another reason why I was saying, yeah, but Trump wasn't doing that either.
But dude, I'm talking about at a time where he's talking to me. Like if Trump's mission was, dude, you got to come out and get people to take the vaccine.
No, you were trying to say like, dude, he's talking down on me, and his goal as a politician is to win me over, is to bring me into the fold so he can get reelected. And that's the only reason why I was saying was
all right, understandable. But what I'm saying is in the speeches that I'm talking about, they were being directed towards me to not like Biden if he comes out and he says, hey man, we got to get on the energy, and me be like, oh, I fucking hate climate change. They're always using climate change. That shit's like normal for him to say. Anyone who's not on board with, and when he's just talking about climate change and he's just trying to like tell you why we need to move over to energy and everything. If I don't like that, that's one thing. But when Biden takes to the stage to address election fucking deniers or whatever, or something that's going on with whatever, when he comes out and he just basically says to you, this is Jim Crow era. You're a fucking Confederate. This is the worst time since Civil War. There's never been an attack like this. And he's talking to me. And he's only reiterating. So like if I was like, what I would say is Trump actually won support. Okay. Even if he lost re-election, he still gained support. He gained the people he was reaching out to, blacks, Hispanics, Jews. He gained more support, more so than any Republican president ever. So when he was speaking, whether he maybe pissed some people off or not, he was gaining vote. Biden is not winning one fucking Republican over, and it doesn't seem like they care. That's my thing, is like Trump might not have been the guy to do it because every once in a while he's just carries himself a certain way and has no problem with responding back to someone if they attack him or saying some off the cuff shit. But if Trump was to come out and say something about the vaccine and say they was to say, hey man, a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine because of you, because they don't like you and it's your vaccine. He first off, he even says that that's why he allowed so much from Fauci, because he understood that like people don't like him, like and he wanted there to be a presence that was, and I think a lot of Trump's failures was that he had to tiptoe around shit to satisfy liberals by being he had to try and be nonpartisan, no matter how crazy the attack was on him. He would have to leave certain people in their position because everybody would say, dude, if you do that, they're going to think you're a monster. Whereas this administration doesn't seem to care at all about what they look like politically. Now, you could say that Trump failed at it or whatever, but go find me a speech where Trump spoke at a regular speech, not a CPAC event, not a whatever, talking about the president is now addressing the nation. Go. I just watched it the other day because I'm a crazy person. I just watched one of Trump's things. Trump's, one of his fucking address the nation things. He's talking all about good shit. He's talking about whatever, even to the point where AOC and them were where he's like, we have the most women and whatever. We have whatever, made a couple fucking jokes on himself. But the whole thing is he's talking about things like, we are going to reduce taxes and we are going to whatever. And yeah, you see some shitty faces and some people don't like to hear him say, oh, that's not the way to do it on reducing taxes on corporations, et cetera. But he didn't sit there and call people fucking out at a presidential thing when the country is in a situation like we are now, where you have people that don't want to take the vaccine or something. Like when your goal is to reach out to people, I'm really surprised that in that process, he comes out over. Now, if you think that in any way is saying that, like, I'm not saying the president's supposed to constantly come out and say, unify the nation or blah, blah, blah. But if the problem is that you really think people are fucking dying and that non-vaccinated people are killing people, and they're to throw away the fact that they're good people at heart is ridiculous. And to not even imply that you want to in some way win them over and instead demand that they fucking do something, that's insane. And we both, I understand where you're coming from, because your thoughts on it are, Trump didn't really unify the fucking nation. Well, he wasn't a good character in a unifying way, because I don't know what liberals want to be unified. I don't know what they want. You think they'll ever like a Republican? They only like a Republican if he goes on CNN and talks shit about Trump. So there's nothing Trump could have ever done to win anybody over. However, I do believe that to be different in the Democrats, because me and you are arguing about Trump right now. Nobody's arguing about Biden. You know what I mean? You're a Trump supporter. I'm a Trump supporter. And we're arguing over Trump, right? Because we are people that can be fucking swayed. But so the thing that I don't understand is these are the smartest people in power. And their biggest problem right now is that the country is completely divided in half. When Trump was the president, we didn't believe that the election was fucking false. They did, but they didn't have any fucking reason to. Yet, what did Trump do? He allowed all this shit. You can't stop the Mueller investigation, even though you know it's bullshit. You can't stop it. But Biden has done all that kind of shit already. So to say, well, they believe that, they whatever. Well, dude, you're believing shit with no information. They also believe that I need to take the fucking vaccine. Like, it's just a different thing, because Republicans don't think that anybody else should think anything. They think people should think for themselves.
Right.
So, whatever.
Well, no, I agree with that.
But to end the fucking rant, the rant's over. But what I was just trying to say anyway is they're not fucking trying to win us over. They're fucking demanding that we take the vaccine. And when you said something about the Trump thing, which makes so much sense, because I've thought about this a lot. You said that, when Trump's saying fucking take the vaccine or whatever, there was people tell you, dude, even Trump said you should take it. So I keep seeing this thing online, like Jake Tapper just posted out. I've always said Operation Warp Speed was the best thing Trump ever done. I don't know why you guys won't listen to your guy and just take it. And what I realized is that that's what also makes us different. They can't understand, like they'll say to us laughingly and mockingly, Trump even said it and you won't take it, because we don't fucking just listen to people. That's what people don't understand. We didn't listen to everything. Like that's what I think that's another battle we're fighting. They think that like we just love every fucking single thing that Trump did, like because that's how they are about Biden. Like they will just stand in the way and do anything he fucking says. So why ain't we doing that with our guy? You know? And it's like, that's not what we do. That's not what Trump was ever about. I believe that at any moment I could have changed my mind on Trump. I don't believe that's the same with a liberal. Like Trump was somebody who changed my mind on politics in general. And so why then I'm seeing this push that I'm supposed to do what he says, and the left doesn't understand why I won't do what he says. It's like, we don't do that. That's not who we are. We like the guy who lets us do what we want. And that's what I was getting at in that whole thing.
I feel like that's a great rant. Like that's a clip that you're gonna cut out and finish that. But to end that note, which is good news and terribly bad news at the same time. According to Vice.com, MIT predicted in 1972 that society will collapse this century. New research shows we're on schedule. A study predicted that the rapid economic growth would lead to a societal collapse in the mid-21st century. A new paper shows that we're unfortunately right on schedule. So we got that to look forward to.
Well, that's due to, they just came out and said now Biden's like, yeah, we knew there was going to be inflation. Fucking the stock market apparently hit the shit today or something.
I don't know. All I know is, I know we were pumping buy Doge and all that crap, but crypto has definitely hit the wall.
No, so. Dude, well, I wouldn't say, honestly, though, see, my play on crypto is its momentum. And basically, the worse the economy gets, this was my whole thing, is that I actually believe that some other shit happened in crypto. And I'm not telling anybody to buy it, but what I'm saying is, this isn't how it works. Things don't just fuck. You know how many times Bitcoin has hit the fucking wall for a month or something? The whole reason behind Bitcoin is it's people believing for some reason that it's like going to replace gold as like the value that will stay no matter, even in a fucking apocalyptic scenario. I don't buy into it, but the more fear of that kind of scenario, the more waves of momentum I think will happen in crypto. Right. You know, but so you don't watch I was wondering about you because I seen that the regular stock market, I don't even pay attention, but people were saying the regular stock market hit the fan today. It was down like 1,000 points or something.
Well, so I guess it was probably 2 months ago, I guess. I just sold all my regular stocks. I mean, I'm invested in my 401k through work, but me going through Robinhood and just kind of playing with the stock market that way, I sold all my regular stocks, and I was like, I'm just going to mess around with crypto because obviously I can't do that with my 401k. Yeah. But even with that, I lost some money and I'm slowly taking it out because I'm trying to pay off debt. So I'm just putting that money towards that. Once that's paid off, I'll have a little bit of extra free money. Then maybe I'll dabble back into it. But as of right now, I haven't been. Yeah.
And I agree with you on the sentiment though. I definitely wouldn't say like buy it, and I don't have anything to sell you on it. But for me, crypto it's the reason why I like that crypto stock market is because it's all bullshit. So you're playing DraftKings, you know what I mean? Like you're just,
no.
You know what I mean? Like it's all bullshit. But what I will say is the fact that, it's all bullshit means that you can just ride momentum and news and just eliminate the thought of any fundamentals. Like anybody who's trying to tell you like, no, you don't understand. See, they process the thing at 10,000 points. And every time they process it, they're the fastest processing crypto. And then in the future, when they do the bots that's all bullshit. That's somebody fucking selling you on, there's 1,000 cryptos out there. And the reason why I love Doge and still love it is because it's like people saying, yeah, it sucks, but it's Dogecoin. So fuck it. And I do think that there's a very good possibility that Doge will fall back to 4 cents and sit there and just never, ever, ever bounce ever again. However, I still believe there's going to be 1-2 bounces left in it. Where to, I don't know, whatever. But it's not because I think it's a good stock. It's just because I think somebody, just from following stocks, they have a slow death rate. You know, like they're like, hey, like if you were, even if you were trading in like AMC, like look what happened with AMC. They were a real good stock. Then they were a mediocre stock that people believed in. Then there would be some news like theaters aren't going away. And then, oh my God, AMC went up $10 today on this report. And then they fell all the way to $2 and it's like they're dead. And then all of a sudden some other weird shit happened with them and they were $365, which is a crazy thing. However, that's how stocks die. So Doge has a couple more fucking last breaths in it, I believe.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, this certainly, we went to this whole Trump thing, which I didn't know that we were going to go there, but it actually.
Well, we weren't going there though. We weren't going there.
Well,
I mean, I had to do
it kind of reminds me. So Bill Burr just got into some shit, because on his podcast, he fucking eviscerated CNN. But to be fair, because he went on this rant and he's like, my mother-in-law came over the other day and she turns on the fucking TV and she fucking puts on CNN and they're just like, blah, 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 fucking Trump. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're still talking about fucking Trump.
Yeah.
Talk about your fucking boy that you fucking elected. You want to know why? Because he's a big fucking bore. That's why. He's like, that's all you got. You got to still fucking talk about Trump to save your fucking ratings for your shit fucking show. He's like, you're fucking disinformation. You're fucking, you're a curse of this fucking country.
I gotta watch this.
And he's like, it's on his podcast. And he's like, and listen, I'm not just talking about them. It's Fox. It's MSNBC. They're all shit. But they're driving this country. It's just divided. They're fucking crazy. And fucking CNN, you just fucking burn.
Dude, I'll tell you something right now. You need to fucking actually try and figure out like how people come up with people's voices, because you pick up on the tells. Like that wasn't the best Bill Burr, but Bill Burr was all in that. Yeah. You definitely got the Bill Burr shit down, and you do that with some other things too. You should spend time and see if you're one of them people that can actually watch and do it. Because Dana Carvey says all the time, it's all about the thing. You get the thing down and you work from there, and you could do it. Because that's pretty good, dude.
Well, my uncle told me, he goes, you should maybe do like some voiceovers or something like that. And I was like, I don't really know. I don't even got it. And actually funny, like, because I'm driving the trash truck around, and my drive in the trash truck, whether I'm listening to sports talk or I'm talking or I'm going over my head about what I want to talk about on the podcast, I'm thinking about different shit, and I'm coming up with like different voices. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm trying to do impersonations, and I'm all over the place because I'm like one I'm a Mexican, the next one I'm Asian, the next one I'm Italian, and I'm trying to do Spanish or some shit. And it just all blends together, and it's just fucking one big mumbo jumbo.
No, but dude, I really think you might have the ability to to really do people impersonations.
Yeah.
Whatever, that's here nor there. But
I was actually, strangely enough, we were talking about misinformation, and for whatever reason, dumb little thing. These are always just the dumb little things in my mind. Yeah. So when Jenn Psaki, she's talking about all this shit, and I was like. And I thought of an Italian pizza guy. Like, hey, I'm Geppetto, the pizza maker.
Hey, you see the pizza.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a square pie.
Make it a pizza.
And Jenn Psaki goes, no, we're just going to need you to circle that back. Everybody knows pizza's round, Mr. Geppetto.
Dude, I hate her.
Square pie would be misinformation. Okay, that would be dangerous to the rest of the Italians and the rest of the country.
I can't believe that. I one of the things, without getting too deep into it at all, though, is I don't understand why. I understand the whole fucking thing with like saying you won't take the immigrants in for whatever reason or whatever, but the fact that they're not jumping all over Cuba doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, this is for another time, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me is because to highlight the failures in Cuba by their government and to highlight the failures in South Africa by their government, would be then to highlight the future failures of their fucking ideas, you know?
Well,
But-
you know, I went on a date yesterday, and
Did you?
yeah. So, and part of the problem with Bumble,
Tommy Wet Dick.
yeah, part of the problem with Bumble is you swipe right on these people, you match, you talk to them on there, but you have no idea like who they are, what they sound like, what anything. So I didn't know this girl is Cuban, and she, you know, she's been over here for a few months. She was in Florida for a little bit. Now she's up here. And so she had that thick accent and everything, you know what I mean? So it turns out she was a journalist in Cuba. And, you know, now she works for fucking Toyota. Does like communications, like whatever. But we were talking, and she goes, we're talking about politics. And she goes, oh, I don't really know how much I want to get into it. See, this is what I mean. My Cuban accent's fucked up. And she was like, you know, I hate Trump. She goes, I hate Trump. And she goes, but there's a lot of problems with Americans because he was fucking right about a lot of things. And she was like, I hate to tell you, but it's coming to America.
Yeah.
And she was like, because I was talking about Cuban, and I was like, it's funny how, you know, prior to the election, the Democrats were like, oh, yeah, sure, open the borders, let everybody come in. And I was like, I think it's kind of funny how now they're like, don't come. And they released a statement about the Cubans, like, don't make that travel over here. And I was like, I think it might have to do with the fact that maybe they're probably going to vote Republican. And she was like, oh, yeah. She was like, Florida's all red. She's like, they're not, you know, she was like, first of all, they're very religious. But she was like, you know, she was like, I don't really know how to say things because like, I don't really want to offend. And I was like, you're not going to offend me. Don't worry about it. But she didn't really elaborate on a whole lot of stuff, you know, because it's a date. So like, we didn't really, you know, but she was basically like, you know, the country is the shit. Like it's poor, it's fucked up. And she was like, America's not fighting against it. And she was like, I see it coming here. And I you know, as much as I want to believe, like, I don't even know how to make an argument against that and say, no, it'll never happen here, because I think by me saying that, that's ignorant on my part. And that's how it happens.
Well, when Castro took over, he said he would never be communist.
Yeah. Right.
And so this is what they do. They tell you want all these fucking things, and then the person gets power and they never let go of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there's so many things, but the Cuban shit, like what I really believe, just like as much as it might be about voting too, and I believe that is a thing, but I don't believe there's enough people. Like Cuba is not fucking South America. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's not. I mean, it is, but it's, you know, it's not. And there's only so many people on the Cuban island that they probably couldn't even. I mean, I don't know how many people there are, but even if it's fucking millions, it's not enough to do anything but keep Florida red. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But so I believe that what we're really witnessing of why they won't say anything and why they won't like make them refugees. Like what I thought was funny is the guy says, if you come by water, like that's so they have some type of weird thing to leave in your head. They always leave you with something in your head. Like, well, what's different between Mexico and Cuba? Oh, it's water. It's dangerous. They care or something. But what I really believe is if they designate these Cuban people to be refugees and take them in, they're then making a statement against the communist government of Cuba, which is then in turn making a fucking statement against China and any other communist government. And I don't understand why that's a bad thing, unless, you know, you're trying to fucking appease somebody. So that's just my own little fucking thought of it. But either way, fucking let them in. I don't understand. Like, when did we start being a certain way with fucking Cuba? It's all this shit is just shocking to me that I always just thought we were like waiting for a moment like this, right?
Waiting for a moment like what?
For Cuban people to rise up against their own government.
Oh, yeah. No,
you know what I mean? Like if that would be perfect. Like, oh, finally we can fucking, because America's thing, I always thought, was that we were against communism on any level. And that's why we deny it. Like people that want socialist programs, the Republicans then attack them like that's communism. And they come back like that's not fucking communism. We're just trying to implement these programs because we all were supposed to unilaterally be opposed to communism. Now, all of a sudden, it seems like we're not supposed to be opposed to communism.
Well, and I think part of the one of the big talking points on the left is that, you know, the embargo that the United States placed on them is part of the reason why everything is so horrible down there. And while I agree that that's partially to blame, there are other aspects that no, that's not the only reason. And, you know, they're not in the streets rioting because they're not getting vaccinated. That's not the case. So, you know, I don't know.
Well, did you fuck?
And no, I didn't. And, you know, the thing about that is hopefully we should have learned, which we should have learned at this point that trying to get rid of dictators is not always the best play for us. You know, Saddam Hussein, getting rid of him, like love him, hate him. I'm sure the majority of people hated him. There was stability in that region. Once we went in there and took him out, it was completely unstable. You know what I mean? So,
I didn't say go over there and take them out. I said, why wouldn't you just say some nice words to the people?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like to me, that shows like a fear. Why would you fear a small little fucking communist island that you basically have power over, unless you fear the message that sends to other people with that same government? That's what I'm thinking.
Right. Well, I mean, good. You know, I guess you don't want another Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, so you got your big news. You don't want to talk about my big news?
What's your big news?
I'm going to move to Austin in November.
Oh, yeah. You know,
it's official. Now I have to go and figure out what I'm going to do. But, you know, I've only fucking reached out to 2 people that I know. And I think it's not going to be too hard for me to ascertain a fucking job before I even get there.
Really?
Well, my one buddy is a musician. He used to play down here. He's actually pretty big in bluegrass. Like he's like #1 on the charts. His name's Danny Burns. And he goes to like Nashville and all that. So I just reached out to him like, you know anybody in Austin? And he's an Irish guy. And he's like, dude, you need a job. He's like, he knows somebody who owns the fucking Fido there and this guy and that guy. And he's a legit person, like on the scale of bullshit meter, like we've talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He's not the bullshit guy. And he's also one of them people where, you know, I think he thinks highly of me. And if he was to reach out to somebody and say like, dude, you hire this guy, it would happen. But either way, I'm fucking nervous. I'm excited. And I'm nervous now because now it's real. Like I probably, if I don't go to Nashville, if I don't go to Austin, I won't have a fucking job for 4 months. So that won't make a sense, right?
Dude, I think it's a ballsy move and I commend you. But I think, dude, look, if you play your cards right and you put yourself in a financial position to go there and take care of your shit, you can absolutely do it. And you were saying that you looked up Airbnb spots that were pretty cheap.
Yeah. So Airbnb does like extended stays and you could get like I won't lie. I just scanned through them for a second. Cause basically I was just looking for an Airbnb for maybe a visit. And somehow I like clicked the wrong button and it was like the months were wrong. And I was like, what is this? It was like $700 a month. And I'm like, that's fucking nice. Then I started looking.
That seems super cheap.
Well, here's the thing. So this is what I was saying. I didn't get into like where they are in Austin, but I live in Baltimore. I wouldn't be for like, even when I was like talking to, I was talking to Kevin Joyce or somebody, and they were like, he was like, like you got to be careful. He didn't say anything about it being bad, but it was just something like, you know, be careful. You could live wherever. And I'm like, dude, people I'm getting reports that people are getting shot down the street from my house 3 times a week. So like, I'm not too concerned about being in like some not so great place, but I won't lie. Like I said, I just scanned through them and I don't know how Austin is made up. So I could be 20 minutes outside of Austin, but maybe it's 20 minutes that you don't want to be, like not like in a bad neighborhood, but maybe there's no fucking access to Austin. You know what I mean? Like, I need to make sure that I'm in a location where I don't have to like drive places and shit. But dude, some of these places where as you go into like the $1,200 a month stage, it's your own little guest house in their backyard with a fucking pool, which you probably share with them, but it looks like it's your, you know, it looks like your own living space with a fucking pool out back.
Dude, how great would it be, right? You go down to Austin, you got a pool house, all right? So you move in, the wife is fucking smoking hot. Oh, hi, Danny. Oh, look at you with your long hair. Oh, look at you. So
She's an 80-year-old Jew.
No. She's hot. She's hot. She's like a 42-year-old MILF. And she's like, oh, look at your hair. Look at your cute little Philly accent.
I'm 39, Tom. She's not.
No. I said she's 42.
Yeah, she's 3 years older than me. This isn't exciting.
Oh, all right. Well,
I'm only kidding. Go ahead.
So, she's like, we're just gonna put you up in your space. Blah blah blah. You got to clean the pool for a little discount on the rent a little bit, and then you're out there with your man bun. You know what I mean? It's hot out there.
My fat tits.
And then suddenly she like slides over and she's like, hey, pool boy, why don't you come work on me? I mean, you slide that little man bun all over me a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and then you're like, dude, I'm in love.
No. And then I take her house if the husband moves out.
Yeah, maybe the husband, he makes all the money. He's constantly working.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something right now.
He's probably running on her. So she just takes him for everything he's got. And then she's like, the pool boy moves into the big house.
Dude, nobody wants that from me. But if they do, I have finally submitted to that fight. If somebody wanted to financially secure my situation and I would just be their bitch boy in the house, I'm it. The problem is I don't know if that's in the cards for me at this point. I think that fucking ship has sailed. Yeah. But if it comes back to harbor, I'll be the first guy waving the ticket. I'm right here, baby.
Yeah, my boy used to always tell me that about 5 years ago. I think I missed that train myself, but he always be like, dude, you're like 35, you're a good looking dude. Just like grab some broad that's making a shit ton of money and she's going to use you as like her little boy toy and like trail you around her friends and be like, oh, look at my little fuck buddy. And he's like, just milk her for what she's got. And I used to be like, oh man, you're crazy. Now I'm like, fuck man, I guess I should have did that. I don't know.
Dude. My most naive moment with that when I was 19 years old, living in Fort Lauderdale, working at a beach bar. And this girl used to fucking, I'm positive now that she was, cause I was too dumb to really understand it then. I'm positive she was a porn star. She said she was a stripper, like an ex-stripper.
Right.
But she would roll up to the fucking bar in that like like the bikini that you only wear if you're a fucking porn star.
Right.
Like, G-string, she'd rollerblade up to my bar every day and say like, I had to come see my Danny boy and shit like that. And she would bring, like, we would go out sometimes, but I was naive in the sense of she was smoking hot, but she was like 40. And so I would go out with her sometimes and like bang her friends, but I would just kind of be hanging out with her. And I'm like, she definitely wants it, you know, but I would be like going there. Like I would just only entertain the idea of going out if she had a couple of friends with her or something. They were always strippers or something. And dude, this girl was coming to my bar, and one day she's sitting there and she's like, I'm trying to find an apartment because she starts telling me I don't live here. I live in Miami. And I'm like, oh, she's like, I just come here. This is why I'm starting to think she was a porn star. She's like, I only come here to do things for work, but I don't know what she does besides roll around in a bikini all day. Right. And she's like, I'm looking for a roommate. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, you know anybody looking for a roommate? And I'm like, nah. And she's like, I don't even really want a roommate. I just want to pay for an apartment and the person could just live there. I just want to have a friend when I come down here. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And she goes, and then she literally goes, when's your lease up? Or she said, do you have an apartment or whatever? And I was like, oh yeah, but my lease isn't up for like 6 months. And I remember the conversation ending where she was like, oh, okay. And then just like rollerbladed off. And I was like, later on in life, I'm like, that was it. That was the fucking last opportunity I had. I could have been living in this porn star's house.
Meanwhile, she's skating away and it's like, Stacy's mom has got it going on. And like, exactly. So like now fast forward when you got a little bit of maturity, you know, in the brain, like you rewind that conversation, you're like,
Oh my God, I ruined my whole life.
What was I fucking thinking?
Yeah, like what an idiot. What an idiot. Dude, I will say something I was thinking about that's cool, because I'm sure we want to end this pretty soon, but I just wanted to kind of wrap up with the Austin stuff, because I actually just want to talk to you about it. But so I was thinking about a couple things. Like one thing that's kind of cool is it's an opportunity to kind of start over, like in the sense of like, I don't carry any of my baggage with me. Like I don't drink. Like here, people know me as the crazy fucking, like I have a lot of stuff that I like actually, like it gets me into some places, but it doesn't get me some things. Like
Right.
I'm known as the crazy guy who's crazy and fun, but don't give him your car keys. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm saying? So it just kind of would be interesting to go there and just kind of fucking see. But the reality of when I'm really like, what am I doing? Why am I going there? Because I'm going there for 4 months, right? But we don't know how, it's 4 months.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And so my real thought is like, even if I don't get a job, which I hope I do, I mean, I'll need one. But if I can pay for everything in advance, if I can pay for my Airbnb for 4 months, you'd be looking at like probably at least $4,000, maybe 5, which is not unobtainable. But then I'd also would like to pay my mortgage here for the same amount of time, which is about the same price.
Right.
And then you want to have it. I'm guessing if I was to be, I would guess I would want to have like $5,000 at least,
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be enough if I wanted to like be crazy the whole time I was there, but I don't think that is on the agenda anyway.
Right. However,
you want to have enough so that you don't get any situation you can't get out of. And then at the same time, hopefully I get a job. But what I really want to do is from all these things I watch Tony Hinchcliffe's Kill Tony every week. He does a show from Austin. It's just like the vibe that you're hearing, all these people moving there and whatever. And it's like, it's a lot of the comedians say now Austin is the only place that they've ever heard of outside of LA. And it's also even more than LA, and it's in a small thing where there's like every single bar does comedy open mics all week or shows. Like every bar there has had to transform to the comedy scene in one way or the next. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think like it would be really cool to like experience that kind of fucking renaissance in its birth for 4 months. And then maybe it doesn't really work out for me or whatever, I'm going to come back here or whatever, but just to be there might be really cool, and to just be in that scene and feel, maybe you'll feel like you want to be there. Maybe you'll feel like I shouldn't be here, whatever, but I think it would be interesting. And in one of my contacts, I was talking to somebody about Austin, and the dude just said to me before I said anything, he wouldn't even have known I cared about stand-up comedy. He was like, "Oh, dude, do you remember Mick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good friends with him." He's like, he's working out in Austin, and apparently he started taking, he like when Rogan comes to his restaurant, he asks for him, and apparently Rogan has linked up with this dude, and he wants him to run his bar, his comedy club. So if that's true, I'm going to be like, "Hey, Mickey boy."
And how do you know that guy?
He used to run. Dude, if you want the real honest truth, the last time he was at my fucking house, he was pissing on my fucking couch. I had to throw him out in the fucking hallway. but not like that was a bad. It was just like, that's, like that's how much I know him, that he would, I found him drunk and had to bring him home to my house. And then he fucking was like pissing. When somebody like piss walks, they're like fucking sleepwalking piss. I'm like, dude, you're pissing in my fucking floor. Yeah. And I told him fucking 3 times, he just kept pissing. So I just threw him out in the fucking hallway of the fucking apartment complex and locked the door with his fucking pants down.
Nice.
So I hope he loves me still. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that would be whatever. But I don't know. It's interesting. And I want to say it. And I wanted to say it even more now, because the more I say it, the more I realize like there's no fucking backing out of this now. And I also felt like it was the first time in my life that I did like the mature thing of saying in advance, "Hey, I'm going to leave." Also making sure, like I made it very clear that I don't want to leave. I will only leave if I'm guaranteed that I can return. Yeah. And, I was given kind of the okay. And she even seemed like excited about it for me, which was kind of cool. So now it's like something that I'm, you're not walking around carrying it in your head like fucking I'm gonna leave this place. It's more like, you know, it's a goal now to go forward and try and do. So I'm kind of excited, but I'm also very scared because I'm not really in the situation to do it. But I'm starting to kind of fear the possibility of another lockdown and stuff, like maybe in the winter, stuff like that. Maybe just strict rules or something. And so fuck it. I mean, maybe just getting out of during that time period anyway too would be good. So
well, they'll just blame people like me and you.
Yeah.
It's our fault because we're being irresponsible with other people's health.
Yeah. Well, I know you want to something else I forgot to bring up, but I'll just ask you, did you happen to see any of that stuff? The story is irrelevant, but the information is important. Did you see that thing with the Texas Democrats that left their state?
I did. And
okay.
I know they were vaccinated and they all got COVID.
Okay.
Right?
So that's great. That's all you need to know. We don't have to get into the story, but what I actually think, and I'm going to give you a little prediction, a little Danny prediction, a little Alex Jones, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. So my best...
They got hijacked by space aliens.
They're coming to get us!
Intergalactic angels.
Dude, by the way, I'm going to find him. He's in Austin too.
They anally injected the COVID.
Dude, he is a fucking cartoon character, and love him or hate him, I don't believe him, believe him. I will admit to this. I watch that dude now on the weekends when I come home because there's not really too much good information, and I'll put on some band-out video, but it has nothing to do with getting information. He's a comedian and he doesn't know it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
he's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, and Rogan will defend him. One of the last Rogan podcasts I listened to,
he defended him again. I seen it.
Yeah. He had some guy on there that was like, well, if there was one person that maybe should be censored, like I do kind of believe that Alex Jones, Sandy Hook stuff, blah, blah, blah. And Rogan was like, whoa, I get it. Alex went off the rails. He recognizes that, but I've known this guy for years. This guy, because of that, people overlook the things that he has pointed out. Things that, you know, years ago when he was telling me about like, oh, they're taking all these kids down to this island with these rich people and they're fucking them in the ass and they're all young kids and blah, blah, blah. And it's all the elites, Republicans, Democrats, they're all in it.
Dude. I have to interject because I'm laughing because I'm picturing something I never thought about. It's one thing to watch Band.dot video and listen to him tell that story.
Yeah.
Or listen to Alex Jones tell you that story.
Yeah.
It's another thing to be like having a beer by the pool.
Yeah. Right.
And have him screaming that at you.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, and so Rogan's like, dude, like that's fucking crazy. And he goes, oh, fucking Epstein. Fucking Bill Gates is on the flight charts. You know, presidents, Chris Rock, or not Chris Rock. What was that other comedian? I can't think of his
Chris
name.
Tucker.
Chris Tucker's on there. They're all down there. They're banging little kids and they're banging sex slaves from Russia. And Joe Rogan's like, dude, like it sounds crazy, but then you're like, holy shit, like he was fucking right. And there are other things that he talked about, like agent evocateurs. That you know would go to rallies. I think what did he say that they were there for somehow involved with the World Trade Center, and I don't know, but certain rallies and protests, and they were agent advocate. I can't even pronounce it, evocateurs or whatever.
Yeah, like the idea of agent evocateur at that time was absurd, but yet it turns out to all be true.
Exactly. So the government was like placing these people to kind of manipulate these protests to go a certain way. Yeah. Which kind of sounds familiar as like kind of like what we're doing with the propaganda that's going on right now. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah, of course it does sound crazy. But he actually, when you listen to him, like when he's on like the Schultz podcast and all, like the dude's fucking pretty funny.
Yeah. And I, well, that to end the Alex Jones bit too, it's like, that's a perfect example of if you want to understand what I feel that people don't understand about, say, people like that are on the right or whatever, where we're not all Alex Jones. Like if I watch Alex Jones, it's not, see, I know some people that watch something like Alex Jones and then they go into their own lives and they preach you Alex Jones talking points. I would watch a guy like Alex Jones because it's entertaining. And then I would on my own start to look up some little thing, but not because I don't even believe him. I'm like, yeah.
You didn't just fold up a tinfoil hat and put it on.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, that's interesting.
And so the point that Rogan was even making on the thing you're saying, where was what Rogan said was Alex Jones said one time that they were fucking, that some senator or somebody was okay with fucking aborting babies after they were born.
Yeah.
And then Alex Jones said, and he's working for a fucking Chinese place and he's selling them all the body parts. And so what Rogan even said was like, well, that was true, but not the fucking other part. Who knows? You know what I mean? And that's what I believe that the old school conspiracy theory used to be, but that's kind of not what's going on now. And people are calling it conspiracy theories. In other words, you have a piece of information that they're hiding from you that you learn to be true. However, the fact that you learn that they're hiding the information from you and it's something that kind of sparks interest because it's true, then they add whatever the fuck they want on the end of it. You can't just, like, that's what made the conspiracy a conspiracy, because you have these two pieces of kind of weird information. It's like I say with aliens and shit. It's like, you don't know what they are. You don't know they exist, but then you find out that the government won't release information. And then these people just fill in the blanks. However, it's very interesting to find out that to learn that the government is hiding something and that there's information out there that is true that the government won't tell you. So that's kind of what intrigues me. I don't buy into the fucking conspiracy, but I love fucking Alex Jones. And if I ever get the opportunity, I want to fucking kiss him on the mouth because that's what I want to do.
You know what, Danny Bender? I'm going to let you kiss me right on the mouth.
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know how he fucking got it now. There was something else I was going to say, but.
Well, the most fucked up thing about somebody like Alex Jones is that when he goes down the rabbit hole with the Sandy Hook stuff and some other, crazy deep shit, is that people do lose sight of the things that he got right. And now, because there's like this negative connotation, if you're like a conspiracy theorist type guy, person, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, here we go again with the conspiracy theories. It's like, dude, look, I just want to know some answers. I'm just questioning the narrative behind the narrative, like pharmaceutical companies and how much money that they're making off of these vaccines and like how all this works. And if that like makes you a conspiracy theory guy, then yeah, of course. That's me. Like, because I like to question what I'm being told that I should buy into.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is very interesting is one of the reasons why I really want you to watch that documentary eventually, not because you got to watch this don't think of it like I'm telling you to go watch Alex Jones and take everything he says verbatim.
Right.
But they break down some things that me and you both kind of try to explain. Like I told you about the fact checkers, just they break down who's behind the fact checker websites in a way where it's like, I didn't know it was that kind of fucking way, but it doesn't mean that they're not telling you any specific fact check being wrong. They're just saying who's behind it. So one of the things they get into, I can't unsee it in the media anymore. He's like, they package new information behind like a little monologue. So when the person comes out to do their, like, say they're going to unveil like that Trump said that, 750 dead voters voted in Pennsylvania or something. I'm just trying to think of something. I don't want to be on the election, but just that's something that I know they would do it to.
Right.
They come out and they go, now in other news out in Pennsylvania from the world of, whatever in QAnons and Alex Jones. And now we have, and so basically before they say anything, they do a rant with like QAnon and Alex Jones or just QAnon. And then they eventually deliver information. So it's a way where they don't get looked at like, because they weren't saying it about that, but it's like they fucking build you up in your head to just accept like in other words, you will immediately connect that next piece of information with that first piece of information that you heard. And now that's all I see. Before they release any type of information that's a new thing or something revealed in an audit or an investigation or a Hunter Biden's laptop. They start it by building you up with, and then again, here we go, which the guys who brought us QAnon and then they deliver that, and it just all turns to fucking mush. But the reason why I did bring up Alex Jones was to say that Alex Jones is definitely not someone who should be taken literally, but he's definitely not somebody who should be censored. Like,
right.
if he's censored, look at all the little tidbits of information that he did put out. And it's, again, maybe the thought process of the left, like, why do they think that he should be canceled? And it's the same thing that kind of bubbles in me and you when we're trying to talk about, say, Tucker or something, and they just attack you like, oh my God, here we go. Alex Jones, Fox News, OAN, oh my God, Gateway Pundit, whatever. And what it is they watch their shows differently than we do. So in other words, when they turn on Rachel Maddow, they're like, tell me what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they think so they just assume like Rachel Maddow is a good person and Alex Jones is a bad person. So I don't think that they understand, like, dude, you're not supposed to like listen and love Rachel Maddow. You're supposed to watch Rachel Maddow, take the information she delivers, and make some decisions for your fucking self. I think that the reason why they actually think that, like, it's almost like I'm trying to say that they're not bad people. They just have a different way of taking in information and how they process information and how they decide what is good information. And so if they believe in their lives that we need to listen to Donald Trump because even he's telling us the vaccine, and they don't understand that don't mean shit to us. And then they think that if you said, I'm not taking it because of him, then it's a bad thing to Donald Trump. To me, that just shows how they must think in their heads, like, well, if Biden said to do it, I have to do it. You know what I mean? Or if my side says it. So maybe their fucking push to have all this stuff removed that's really how they feel about how they take in for information. I mean, I don't know, just something I've just been thinking about because it's kind of absurd that anyone would think that all this shit is okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, it just dawned on me. Like, imagine a new CEO takes over a company and he's like, everybody, there's 10 floors. And he's like, everybody from the fifth floor up, like, don't listen to them because they have nothing to say.
Yeah.
They work here, but they're just spreading lies and misinformation.
Yeah.
And then the people on the first 5 floors are like, all right. And then they're going to they're going to get, to the cafeteria for fucking coffee and donuts and whatnot. And the guy on the fucking 8th floor is like, hey, did you hear about what was going on last night? Or I don't know, the pizza I heard was a little burnt or whatever. And they're like, don't you fucking dare say that about Bertha. I know her mother and she was up all night cooking that pizza.
No. What I'm even seeing more is that I'm seeing somebody like find something out. They're like, yo, so yesterday I saw the CEO was like, tried to go in the office and he was like banging the secretary. Yeah. And they're like, oh God, where'd you hear that? The 5th floor. Exactly. I bet you heard that from the 5th floor.
Exactly. But nobody even thinks in their head to say, why is the CEO saying this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just nobody like wants to question the person in authority.
Well, that's the other part that kind of like my thing is every time you get like going back to where I said, like, I'm a bartender, you know what I mean? And I've been deciphering bullshit my whole life. And I've never thought this through, but I'm just going to say it right now where it's like when someone speaks to me and they say something that's strange, right? Like they might sit there and go like, yeah, does John work here still? And then they say like, yeah, I used to work with him. He was a fucking cokehead at the other bar. They had to fire him. You know what I mean? Right. Well, I might say, well, I don't really know John, so maybe I need to look out for this, right? But before I do any of that, I want to know, what's this guy's deal? Who comes in and just says that? Did he work with John? Oh, he worked with John. And what happened? John fired him. You know what I mean? Like, right. Like you need to, and then that doesn't make that guy wrong.
Right.
So what you do then is you pay attention to John, but you do not in any way you never let yourself act on the information that you had, and you come up with your own conclusion. And even if that conclusion is to dismiss that guy's information, even still that you find out that that guy's an Alex Jonesy kind of guy, you still can't fully dismiss it until you now like let these things unravel. So something happens a little later, money goes missing. Then you fucking talk to somebody and you hear them all going, yeah, well, I heard John does coke. You know what I mean? Now you realize that I'm in a fucking thwarted information place because all these people heard the same shit that I heard. And, then you watch this process play out and money goes missing 5 more times. And some individual who you've noticed kind of been having a little excess money constantly blames John and his coke habit. You know what I mean? Right. And so I'm being weird here, but I guess what I'm saying though is like that's just if you don't understand that information is ever evolving and comes with bias, and none of it is necessarily should be completely discarded. However, it should never be taken at fucking face value. And that's just how everything is. I still, to this day, as much as I love Trump, I still have been sent down rabbit holes by people like Rachel Maddow when they tell you that you're fucking giving them money for the wrong place or you're whatever. And I go like, this motherfucker better not be a fucking Schindler. And I fucking look through whatever. And 90% of the time I either in some cases, it's just too hard to get that kind of information. But in most cases, when I go down the rabbit hole, I find more stuff that leads me to believe that they're just, instead of finding out how bad Trump is, I find out how crazy it is that someone can just say that about him in the media. You know what I mean? Right. And so, but what I'm saying is every single politician should always 100% be in fear of the possibility that they can to have their power stripped away by the people. And I feel like we give these people power and then blindly fucking follow them, when in reality, we should just always be critical of what they're doing. Are you doing the job that we put you there for? If you don't do that, but you do it in every other job, it doesn't make any sense. So would you ever put a guy in control of your bar and just fucking, hey man, I don't want to hear anything he's saying. He's my guy, And if people do that, then you take a look at what happens if you've ever worked at a job where you're working for the son of the fucking owner and he gets to do whatever he wants and the place is just fucking, whatever. That's what happens when you blindly allow someone to fucking stay in power with no consequences. So that's my lesson of the day.
Well, there was a couple people who agree with you, and they challenged that authority in the first month of the year, and now most of them we don't know where the fuck they're at. You can't hear from them. Yeah, nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Dude, isn't that crazy, man? That fucking you come out
and at every fucking turn, the politicians are like, oh man, that's the worst day in American history. Oh, we gotta launch investigations.
Yeah,
from here to Afghanistan, there will be no stone unturned to find those motherfuckers.
Yeah, and it even shows you why the fucking Republicans are fucking pieces of shit, because if that was being done, listen, I get it. I'm not trying to say I don't know. I don't even know if these people should or shouldn't be in jail for as long as they're going to jail for. I mean, I don't know. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say they were just walking around. I mean, I guess, you fucking broke, if somebody broke in my house and 100 people started walking around in it, I want them all arrested. But at the same time, just imagine, and it just kind of clearly sums up the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Democrats would be having vigils, holding hands, singing outside the prison, even if those people murdered people. They would do it for a bunch of looters who fucking murdered the whole fucking employees at the fucking Walmart or something.
Right.
And they would still say they're victims or whatever. And I'm not pushing anything on the Dems, but I'm trying to say is isn't this politics, right? Aren't you supposed to make a skeptical out of things when your party's under attack and maybe too much so, And it's the Republicans don't even like that. There's so many things that they don't fight about. I'm just really starting to believe that we've been in a fucking a fake opposition government where they're really all just working together. But I think at the same time, the left is exactly what they are. They're part of that group that they'll never stop. Like the Republicans are just greedy fucks that want their money and they want to go away quietly. And the Democrats like power, whereas like the Republicans like money, and money brings them power. Democrats like actual power over people. And now what you're seeing is like the Democrats racing and getting more of that power, and the Republicans kind of being outed. So they're just kind of like trying to hide a little, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to fight for anything because they really don't want any fucking light on them. You know what I mean? They've been hiding in the shadows, all their dirty shit. So they just kind of, oh, sorry guys, see you later. Oh, January 6th was horrible. Yeah. See you later. I don't know if that made sense to you, but it's just weird to me that there's nothing, like nobody's like, I don't even understand how it works. Like the Republicans were in control when Trump was in there, but yet how can they constantly investigate? Like, why can't we do an investigation into something? Why I don't understand how this shit works. And I'm assuming the only reason why we don't is because Republicans just dismiss it. Like, forget it. We don't care. We don't care about Hunter Biden. Why wouldn't you care? Wouldn't you want to make a big thing out of it? I don't know.
Well, because they don't have the mass media behind them to push.
Yeah, I guess you're right there.
They also don't have every fucking celebrity like to come out and be like, oh yeah, take the jab and go investigate this person or say BLM.
100%.
They don't have that whole PR campaign down like the Democrats.
Well, the last thing I'll say about this is that this is the whole reason why I even said that. Now I'm realizing where I was going with my rant. But when you said the thing about the fifth floor people, and we were talking about like, censorship with Psaki and like who gets to make the decision or whatever. And what I keep thinking in my head is it's like imagine a world where all of a sudden you're censored, right? So think about the information we talked about that has grown. Like my actual real fear with the information is not that, oh, they're going to go around and just say they shut Alex Jones down or whatever, it's not just like I see them doing it to one people. I see all of a sudden a blanket issue not being able to be talked about, like say ivermectin. So we've seen how things over time have progressed because there's always a steady stream of two arguments. Sometimes it's a lesser of sometimes like the argument against is small, but it stays there. And it's people are constantly trying to prove themselves right. I'm telling you, I did this study and I can, and it's like they're being shunned along the way, but they're still allowed to gather that information and talk to other people online and put studies up against another study. So what I fear is imagine a world where all of a sudden you're not allowed to talk about ivermectin. So in the media, you're not allowed to talk about ivermectin, right? So that means you're not allowed to talk about ivermectin anywhere. So then what happens is you're a scientist and you decide that you want to take on a study of something. Well, why would you study ivermectin if your study's not going to get published and nobody's going to give you money for a topic that you can't study? So just censoring a topic alone will have so many different adverse effects in how we get to a conclusion, because people will literally, like somebody might think like, well, they'll still work on hydrochloroquine or whatever. There would be absolutely zero fucking, whatever you call it, zero fucking worth to trying to fucking still study ivermectin. You're not even allowed to talk about it. If you bring it up at a fucking meeting or, hey, can we do this? You're the fucking crazy guy. So it isn't just the fact that you can't talk about it online. It's the fact that people would have to stop exploring the topic in general, period, because it would make zero sense to continue, and that's the scary part, because think about possibly the millions of things that we've done throughout history that at one point were kind of a no-no thing, but nobody ever really stopped you from talking about them amongst yourselves. They were just no-nos when presented. But imagine if like at the smallest level, people were like, yeah, dude, I don't want to talk about ivermectin today on the podcast because it makes no sense because my shit will get turned right down, Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a scary world, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Imagine if they were podcasting back in the day and they're like, something tells me this Earth might be round.
Yeah,
I don't
dude,
know.
we should
Everybody's like, whoa, you fucking crazy motherfucker, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
Tom, that's a great skit. We should do a skit where we're like, what if what if information was censored, like, whatever. And you do a podcast where, like, a fake little 2-minute podcast, and you talk about things like, yeah, well, it's flat earth and fucking blah, blah. Cause I was just literally thinking, if we went by government controlled information, we would still be thinking that gay people are the only people that can get AIDS. And that, right. You know what I mean? Like, think about all the things you'd think if that stopped a long time ago. Right. We'd be sitting here talking about, like, so and to say that we are any different, like, to say, like, yeah, but we're in a different place. Well, censorship to me would stop. Like, whatever you believe now, there's no growth to it. You know what I mean? That's it. Right. So,
and I think ultimately, so many people lived in fear over the past year and so. I think a lot of people just want to buy into the naive narrative because it's just like the scene in The Matrix. You know what I mean? Where I can't think of the fucking dude. He's an actor. He was in Goonies. He was in The Sopranos. He was getting banged up the ass by Tony Soprano's sister, Ralphie Cifaretta. You know what I'm talking about?
What else was he in?
He was in The Goonies. He was the bad guy in The Goonies.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he's a Trump supporter, bro.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. But
yeah, I messaged him. He messaged me back on IG. Yeah, he's amazing.
I can't think of his name. But what I'm saying is, no, not the Italian guy.
Okay. Oh, no, the other guy. Got you. Yes.
Yeah.
He was on The Sopranos. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it was Ralphie. He was getting banged. Tony's sister was banging on the ass with a dildo. She was like, he's into weird shit, Tony. But he's in that scene where in The Matrix, where he was like, I know this steak isn't real. I know everything about this. It's fake, but I don't even care. Like, I want to forget everything and just eat the fucking steak. And he just closes his eyes like, oh, it's so good. And I think so many people live in fear that they don't care that they're being lied to as long as their life is back to normal. And I just, it's sad because I do truly believe, and that's not to say that people are stupid. It's not to say that people are naive to an extent, but, and it's not even to say that, because I think a lot of people, for the most part, are, especially as you get older, you're busy, you're working 1-2 jobs, you got kids, you know what I mean? Who really has the time to dig deep and to really do research into it? Who really has time to, like, look into these politicians that they vote for? You know what I mean? Like, you got fucking Bruce Springsteen, your favorite fucking song, and he's on there saying, like, well, you should just vote and post back square and blah, 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 and do this and do that, because if not, you're a racist. And then you feel guilty because, you're working hard. Maybe you got some nice things, and you see some minorities that are struggling, and you're like, oh, I feel horrible. Everything must be my fault.
Yeah.
And you don't really understand anything. You're not going down deep enough, and you're just buying into the narrative that they're telling you. And that's it. And then it's just like, all right, like, then you buy into the narrative, you play along, you sing the song, you get along with everybody, because it's much easier than having to explain yourself. It's much easier than going against the grain. It's much easier at the fucking Christmas dinners to not be the Alex Jones guy when everybody be like, there he is.
That's him. There he goes. And then everything you say is Alex Jones. Then you're like, hey, I think that turkey's overcooked. They're like,
yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So everything is just much easier going downstream with the grain. And I just think, that's just what people do. And then there's a lot of people too that are just like, look, life is what it is. There's bullshit coming from every fucking angle. So I just choose to fucking deflect it and just fucking keep marching and doing whatever the fuck I got to do.
Well, where first off, I fucking 1,000 times agree with that statement. And to just say even something like, I say all the time, like I don't enjoy watching movies and shit like that anymore. Like in a weird way, I feel sometimes like I'm like, dude, have I been fucking red pilled because I don't enjoy certain things? It's not because like I'm depressed or something. It's just like I'm watching people and I'm like, you're like, I'm watching movies. I'm like, there's a message now that's got to be in there. And I don't care. Like the thing is, I want to naively go back to my life. And when you do start to get consumed with the stuff, the thing that gets scary is even if you're right, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like even if you're right, you're like, oh,
Right.
okay. Well, what does it matter? And then I always think back to what Chappelle said in one of his stand-ups where he says, I'm not afraid to be wrong. I've been wrong. The scariest thing is to be the only guy in the room that's right. That's the scariest thing.
Right.
But moving from that, where we got into our fucking Trump feud with the Biden thing, what I even meant when I was saying like the Biden thing with his speech is I'm not watching it to pick him apart. I'm watching it and I'm kind of hoping that I can just like get it. Like I said, like there's moments where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I bought into some bad shit here. Like what's going on? Maybe it's just fucking politics normal. And the one thing that I just can't get out of my mind though is why it's over. It's over. You know what I mean? It's over. Like the guy that you beat in the election is still talking shit. Who cares, right? Why do you care so much? And so what scares me is the fact that I want to just go back to naivety, but they are still going, they're still going. Like we're about to maybe be locked down. We're back in the Delta variant. We're not whatever. And it's like, I don't understand what's going on because it seems like politics is now gone. Like the politics of the virus should be gone, right? Like there's no more fucking there's no argument. You're now in power and you believe that the world pretty much is behind you along with the country. So why still move forward with attacks? You know what I mean? Why still keep going? So my thing that scares me is I'm just intrigued at the fact that this isn't whatever it is they're trying to attain. It's not over. You know what I mean? And a lot of people just thought, well, Trump gets out of the fucking thing and then it'll all go away. And I kind of felt that way too, but they're still coming after us for some reason. They're still coming after people. They don't care about us. Why do they want us to get the vaccine so bad? Why do you have to have 100% of the country vaccinated? Why do you have to vaccinate 12-year-olds? It doesn't make any sense. There's this push to keep doing this stuff.
Even the kids. There's
got to be something more.
Yeah, even the kids part. Like there's next to no evidence they weren't fucking dying. They weren't spreading it. So like the Fauci was like, yeah, we're gonna push for 3-year-olds. The 3-year-olds older than 3, we could just jab them and they get the Fauci Ouchie and they'll be happy and they'll be doing cartwheels in the living room and everything, farting fucking rainbows and they'll be good.
Well, wait, now see, fucking dude, I don't know why I got so sidetracked on everything at the end of this. When I brought up those Dems, what I think my prediction for what's going on is they said that they got COVID. So when they first showed them with a picture on the airplane and they're like all with their masks off, it's the typical thing that I see happen every time Republicans get a win. So instead of really reacting to that, Republicans just shared the picture and was like, oh, good. I'm glad to see that the Democrats agree with us that masking on an airplane is stupid, right? So there was no real rebuttal after that. And now all of a sudden, all these people got COVID. And I don't know if you know this, but Kamala Harris went to fucking Walter Reed Medical Center today. And there's been no report on why or what was going on. So Kamala Harris met with all them people. So now Kamala Harris could possibly fucking have COVID, right? But I don't think any of them have COVID. I think that they're trying to spin the narrative back their way to get fear going on. So I think that moving forward now, they're going to accept, because what was stopping the vaxxers from fighting with the unvaxxers? Our argument was, leave us alone. You're vaccinated. You know what I mean? Now they're going to show us, dude, the fucking vice president might have it. These Democrats that were all vaccinated got it. So once they put fear back into the vaccinated that you can still get it, but vaccinated people are fucking highly fucking passing it around, but it still can get the vaccinated people. I think that this is a big show to grab this high fucking elite group of people and show that, hey, they were vaccinated and they got it. So there's still a reason to fucking fear it. And so we're going to go right back into the vaccine, like they're going to start pushing the narrative to the vaccinations work, but the unvaccinated people are high spreaders and it's increasing the chances of vaccinated people getting it, which is then going to cause vaccinated people to completely dismiss any argument that they're now safe because they're vaccinated and that the unvaccinated don't cause them any risk. That's what's coming next, Tommy. That's what's coming next, baby.
You know what's going to come next? You know what's going to come next? They're going to name it. The next variant that's going to come around is going to be the Hitler variant.
Dude, he literally says, and then they're going to put us on a plate and they're going to eat us.
So the next variant, they're going to name it something crazy. It's going to be called the Hitler one. So all the unvaccinated, now they're all infected with Hitler. So they've been calling us Nazis. Now everybody's infected with Hitler. It's going to be the next World War. It's going to be crazy.
That is. I'm like, why don't they give it like some crazy ass? Like, imagine if they came on and they were like, oh, the next Hannibal Lecter variant was unleashed today, and it's sweeping through fucking Africa, or like the Predator fucking variant is wiping out Iran. Or
Dude,
like,
yeah. Like, give it a good name.
Yeah, like a fucking.
Yeah.
Like something like terrifying.
Yeah. Dude, I still think though that if you really want to get people to take the vaccine, just start spreading that it makes your dick bigger.
Yeah. No,
everyone would fucking sign up, dude. Or just give it a fun name. Like, you guys get the ass blaster yet? You get the ass blaster.
So you were talking about movies. Before we end this, I want to end it on a happy note. You know what I mean? I watched Fear Street. It was on Netflix. I don't know if you
I just seen something about it, but I'm not 100% sure what it is, but go ahead.
So it's a trilogy, and the first one took place in 1994, which I was like, oh, dude, I'm loving it because there was a lot of music in it. So it was very nostalgic. And then the next one was Fear Street 1987. And then the next one was like 1667 or something like that. And it in that one, because it went back to witches, and the witch hunts, just goes to show you how fucking people can fucking be crazy. You know what I mean? I'm not, just talking about witch hunts and all that shit. Like,
that's what I mean about a skit, like where we're talking and we're like, it's now 2021, but since everything's been censored, we're still talking about like witches.
Yeah, like we should have like a seance and like bring back a witch from back in the dead, and like she's like laying on the couch at like a therapy session. She's like, I just don't understand, like, and I see what's going on right now, and like I feel like I'm reliving a nightmare all over again.
Yeah, then you have like an ad like, hey guys, just remember a little note to our sponsor. We sponsor Witch Rocks. Remember, you can't always knock them down with just regular old rocks, but Witch Rocks guarantees to take them down with one swoop.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I recommend that. I really enjoyed it. It was a little horror movie, a little trilogy. I thought it was pretty cool. I couldn't think of any hidden messages in it, but
is it R.L. Stein?
Somebody mentioned that, like, it may, because there were books, so I don't know if it was R.L. But it did take place. It was like kind of kids, like, but it was kind of creepy. Like, I mean, it was a slasher type kind of, like,
cool. A liberal actually had a problem. A liberal that I think was getting a little woke was saying to me, like, the reason why I know of Fear Street was somebody mentioned it to me, and I have no clue what you're talking about. And they were like, well, I read all the R.L. Stein books, and they were like, and I wanted to check it out because I wanted to get like nostalgic, and I was excited because they had this thing out. And then they said they read the bio of it, and it said that it's centered around this lesbian love affair.
Oh, well, it is, yeah.
But they were like, so the person looked at me and they're like, dude, and they were a liberal. They're like, I just couldn't watch it because like I read all the books, it's nothing to do with, and so it might still be a good thing. I'm not trying to downplay it, but that was what was presented to me, was somebody was using that to say how they're getting sick of all this shit in movies, and they're like, I watched the books, they're like, I don't understand why this has to be about like this young lesbian girl.
Well, that is true. That could be the spin. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm not trying to down. I'm just saying. I thought maybe you, but this person was very fucking linked to it. They're like, it really fucking offended me, man. And I'm like, how's it feel, liberal? Huh? How's it feel to be offended?
I don't know if this is. I don't know.
That's what makes me laugh though. Is like we'll be like, dude, this doesn't make any sense though. They're like destroying this, and it doesn't. Information is important, and ivermectin saving lives. And then it takes an R.L. Stein book to get fucked with for them to think it was be like, wait, maybe you're right. Okay, R.L. Stein was never about a lesbian girl.
Hey, wait just a goddamn minute, sir. Now that would be funny though if you really reacted that way when they were telling that story.
Yeah.
How does it fucking feel, liberal?
Yeah, take it, motherfucker.
Oh, Jesus! This service sucks.
Yeah.
All right, this was a long one, and we were going all Alex Jones crazy.
Holy
wild.
shit! It was a long one.
Yeah, holy shit.
Enjoy if you've gotten here.
We may have to circle back and censor ourselves.
Yeah, pretty soon. So, guys, well, if you're listening to us, you're probably listening to us from deep underground in a bunker somewhere at the end of times. We can no longer talk about ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, the Hunter Biden laptop, the stolen election. What else? Is there anything cool we can't talk about? Anything normal?
Well, only in 2022, we'll only be able to talk about unicorns and Joe Biden.
Yeah. I want them to just come out, like, just to make us crazy. Like, come out and just be like, and there's a new list of some terms that we don't want to be spoken about. No one can talk about scissors anymore. I don't know where that came from, but you're just not allowed to talk about scissors.
No, so we have corroborated with all of this social media platforms, and now the list of things that you could talk about are Mr. Biden. You could talk about unicorns, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. Thank you very much, people. And that's it.
Oh, by the way, and Bigfoot is still a no-no for anyone out there who was thinking that we may have changed our stance on Bigfoot. Bigfoot is still a no-no. Yeah. Dude, right. Tell me you don't want to fucking sit in a room. Like, this is what I can't stand about these people, though. I want to sit in a room with Jenn Psaki and just be like, what do you really believe? Like, I want to have a real, I want to have a real conversation with these people. Like, and it just drives me fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Like I'm starting to realize that they'll never have their day like that. You know?
What if she's like really like down to earth and like what if she like goes home and puts like, I'm still Jenny from the block. Whatever. This is how I wear the rocks on my socks. Whatever the fuck that song is like. And like, I wonder if she's just like, oh man, that was a whole lot of bullshit that I served them today.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think she truly believes that shit, but I'm just saying.
No, do you know what without keeping it going, what I really genuinely believe, and I think that this is the problem, is that they know that they're serving up a plate of bullshit, but it's for the good. So in other words, they're sitting in a room and they're like, yo, if we tell the fucking truth on this, it's gonna the cause is more important. So like, look, we're doing the right shit, but we just can't give them a win right now. You know what I mean? Because if we do, it might hurt us politically, and then we'll lose the midterms and So I think she goes out there and serves up a plate of bullshit, like protecting something, and she walks away from it not feeling like she lied, but like she just stopped the Alex Joneses of the world from getting a win. You know what I mean? Like, we can't let them fucking spin this on us. So I'm going to go out and I'm not going to say communism is bad. So I'm going to say all kinds of other shit because I don't feel like I'm lying. I'm protecting the system for the better of the country, you know?
Well, I feel like we're never going to end this episode. But quick, when I was just saying about like, I wonder if she really truly believes that shit. It kind of reminds me of, did you hear about the Rachel Nichols story she's the NBA, she's the ESPN chick.
Just tell me it.
Okay. So Rachel Nichols big liberal, you know, she's an MBA, she's a female reporter for ESPN. She was secretly recorded. And she was saying about, I guess, with minorities being hired, like she's all for inclusivity and progressive ideas. There's this black female anchor on ESPN who was pushing for more money. She wanted to sign a new contract. She was like, Stephen A. Smith's making this amount of money. I want to make this amount of money. So this chick, this white lady, she was recorded and saying, I'm all for it, except if she comes for my job. So she got called out on her bullshit, which is normally, that's why I was thinking about Jenn Psaki. Like, I wonder if she really fucking believes it, because everybody got on her case. Although, look, she's got a family. She's got to do what she wants. And she may truly believe, you know, hey, yeah, let's hire more minorities. Let's, you know, give this woman more money. But there was some ideas or whatever that maybe this woman was going to maybe take her reporting on the sideline or something. I don't really know all the details, but all I know is that she was secretly recording, basically saying like, yeah, I'm all for everything saying unless she takes my job. And I'm like, that's funny how that works, isn't it?
Well, because I don't want to go elaborate on it, but I do want you to, and maybe people out there to watch it, since that got your tentacles tickling. You got to look up, if you haven't seen it already, Ozzy Osbourne's wife when she got fired from the View.
The View, yeah, I know.
Did you see that little clip where the fucking girl? Did you see it or no?
I know there's some details about it because it was kind of bullshit. Like I didn't understand why she got fired.
Well, they just had leaked audio. So she got fired because she said something about Piers Morgan or something.
Yes. Well, yes.
And they actually had the conversation of her talking to like the two black girls from The View. And literally, I feel so bad for her. She's like, I didn't even defend him, but he's not a racist. He didn't even say anything racist. I wasn't defending any racism stuff. And literally, Ozzy Osbourne's wife is like, she's like, I don't even expect to be somebody like that. I'm just an old lady who has a bunch of stories. That's all I am. And the black girls are like, no, I get it, but you have to understand the situation that we're in. She's like, whenever a racial topic gets brought up, even if we don't care about it, like we have to address it and talk about it. Even sometimes I'm not even for it, but I have to do it. And it was like a 5-minute thing of how they were basically saying to her, like, we're really sorry you're getting fired, but like, we have to fucking do this stuff because black people look to us for these things and we have to act on it. And then they get into a thing where she's like, but we don't even really agree with it or care about it. And this is the thing that makes me laugh, but yet people still watch The View and give a fuck. You know what I mean? How many things they got to be outed on?
Well, what cracks me up is like, I saw articles like, there was like one of the black women that were on The View. Like I saw articles like she's so uncomfortable working with Sharon now, and like everything's awkward, and she's like she feels like attacked, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
like,
and if you listen,
you're making millions of dollars to sit on the fucking View, and somebody that said I don't think that Piers Morgan is a fucking racist, like now you feel fucking uncomfortable, like just.
And come on, like if you grew up in a regular, like in other words, you want to present yourself as you're the fucking person who comes from the fucking nothing and you fought and clawed your way to get where you are. You mean to tell me that all the shit you probably endured in your life and some girl defending Piers Morgan in a statement is like,
and he didn't even say anything racist. If Sharon said something racist, like directly towards her, like I would be like, okay, or just something in general. Like I'd be like, oh, all right, that makes sense. Like, okay, I get it. But none of that happened. And now it's just like people just like, oh, like now I'm uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. So then she leaves and it's like, everything's fine. It's just, dude, it's no different from fucking that other fraud, Joy Behar, who's like, oh my god, look at these people in blackface, and then she gets caught doing it, and she's like, well, I was just celebrating African American culture. Oh, shut the fuck up.
Well, yeah, and the last thing you need to look up, did you see the Brian Stelter thing where he got confronted on CNN by the fucking guy who literally called them. And it's actually the reason why you need to watch this is it's actually beautiful. You saw it? My favorite part about it is at the end, he's like, well, why do you come on here? And the guy's like, I sell books. I'm a book salesman.
For the people that don't know, the guy basically called him out on the show. He's like, well, you're part of the problem with the media, and you're part of the problem that people don't trust the media. And the guy, and was Brian Stelter, was just kind of like laughed, and he was like, well, what should I do?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how about you just be honest?
Yeah. How about you listen more and don't talk so much?
Yeah.
And then, my favorite part about it though was he said, you are the opposite of Trump. Trump is the fake news guy, and you are the, minister of truth, and nobody believes that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like he started saying to him, like, you're basically just being the polar opposite. Like, all right, Trump's calling everything fake news, but you're calling only your news truth. And you know what I mean? And the best part is that Brian Stelter's like, when he says the media is in its own bubble, he's like, well, I can agree with that, dude. That fucking dude, if there's ever been a fucking fat, ugly piece of shit that I just want to punch in the fucking head, like that's another guy. Like how does he live a normal life? How does he go home and fucking live his life? How does he has to know he's a fucking lying turd. It's just weird.
I don't know.
Then again, give me some money. I'll be a lying turd. This thing will turn into I'll be like, remember guys, get the vaccination.
Yeah.
Get the vaccination. And just for anybody out there wondering, the Hunter Biden laptop is completely fake.
Yep.
All right, guys, I guess we'll fucking end it. I love you.
We're going to end this episode with this might have ended our fucking career.
I love you. We'll miss you. We'll talk to you soon. We're back. We should come up with like a fucking Mr. Rogers ending. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where we should sing a little song. Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my subscriber?
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Is there anything? So Tommy didn't get laid. I'm moving to Austin.
No, I don't know, but this is getting old. We're getting late here. We gotta go. Well, we don't need a summary.
You didn't get laid?
I didn't get laid. That's
all right. Tommy doesn't want a summary. So
and that's all, folks.
All right, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and fucking make sure you're here, ready, listening with your ears, ready, poised to listen to the noise from Tommy getting laid next week. All right. I'll see you guys. Love you.